Everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
Yeah. We did it. Okay. I'm Andreas. Welcome to Neuropa. Raf's here with me. Good to see you, Raf. It's been like a week or something. Jared, how are you doing, dude? What's up?
I am doing great.
Dude,
holy crap. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Raf. Oh my God.
You can't
both are
teach
amazing.
intensity, but you can demonstrate it like that. That was really good. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, Jared, where are you from originally?
Kansas City.
Wow, really? So
Yeah.
Kansas City is like weirdly interesting place. I think people don't get it, but that first off, let's start with nerding out. 10 times faster internet than anywhere in the world in Kansas City.
That explains a lot.
Dark fiber internet, they called it, which is not just a Sith term for energy pipes, but in the old days, they did all this unlit fiber optic cable in Kansas City. Also, that Kansas City is divided between Kansas and Missouri. It's kind of like Budapest, or I don't know. It's like Rhodesia. Like they took a country and they just divided it because it was too powerful. Kansas City was too powerful.
Yeah, they got to break up the power there.
Dude, and the vanadium mines, which is why you're not in Kansas City anymore, because that's where the vanadium emeralds are. There's emerald mines in Kansas City, which is crazy.
Snap, really? I got to get a drill or something to find those emeralds.
I got to wonder, like, the military's probably got control of all the underground in Kansas
they'll
City.
probably clear this whole place out and make a base or something.
But we decided we were going to talk about game theory. What's your story, man? Lead us in.
Oh, yeah. That's
give me
cool.
Imagine I'm Marty McFly and I walk up to your tower and you've got the video playing about your life story.
It's just a wild ride of mental health visions of extra dimensional beings and people and interactions and police and wondering what my place, traveling around the world to see why I was sitting around with a backpack and wondering why am I even here? It doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't I get a job or shouldn't I be transcending the earth material plane and go to bed, Rambo body or something better than this, right? And I guess I'd went insane a little too many times reading spiritual, occult literature or spirituality, and I was introduced to, I guess the spiritual herald was Alan Watts for me. I suppose that's when I awakened to the away from Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, and I was like, by the way, Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens helped me out of Christianity, which I was born into Christianity, and so they gave me that perspective. And then I went to
just
Watts.
To be sure, you mean the selfish gene, Dawkins?
Hell yeah!
Did you read his book?
Yes, he helped me at a certain period of my life to break up. And then I went back to Christianity for Gnosticism. He was still like, he had some I'm not all of it. Obviously, it doesn't have the whole picture.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone did this. I thought that was really funny as well. Like, so when they did their episode where Richard Dawkins ends up in love with Mr. Garrison, and they have the Beaver Wars, and the Beaver Wars also has to come up again for some reason. But we did a whole thing on MK Canada, talking about how crazy mind control Canada programs are, and the Beaver Wars in Canada, which are a true thing. There really were Beaver Wars, which they took foundling orphans and they brought them to different places all around the Hudson River and Bay. And it sounds cute because beavers, but no, it was friggin' nuts because like the Beaver Valleys. Anyway, Richard Dawkins, he's in that show about transhumanist beavers that are taking over, and he's in love with Mr. Garrison. And the whole point of the episode, amongst all the other things, is that that Richard Dawkins is a bit trite. Like, he hasn't gone further than just being reactionary. But when you're like a 10 to 15 to 17 to 21-year-old in there, you know what I mean, kid, being a bit questioning of authority and everything, like being reactionary and just kind of thinking things out, that's the place for Dawkins. Dawkins is before you can drive, you know what I mean? But there's a place for it. And I think that that place really does exist. People think, oh man, you should never pay any attention to him. But yeah, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, that was their whole lesson. When they were kids, they thought, hey, we'd never heard this before in our church. But then now that we're in college or out of that or grown up, dude, Richard Dawkins, you really need to like continue thinking about thoughts, not just harping on your
Ah, yes.
40-year-old
That's
idea.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting.
all I want to bring up about this is just during that time, a dear friend of mine was reading that book and relaying it to me, and I was already on a pretty different wave. I just shared the link, which is not sure if you know about these guys, Umberto Maturana and Francisco Varela,
No.
who write the book The Tree. It's literally called The Tree of Effing Knowledge, and it's all about autopoiesis and the idea that basically all systems are self-generating systems, autopoietic systems, and it is a, let's say, completely diametrically opposed framework to the selfish gene idea, just to everyone who wants to opposing
Selfish
view, let's say.
gene. Yeah, that was the central idea, the selfish gene. Like
That's a believable. That one I agree with, though. That's true. Genes are selfish. They're trying to proliferate, at least somewhat.
But do they selfish so they can become less selfish?
I think it's not true that every gene is selfish. That's the other problem.
That's interesting.
Like so, mushrooms, for instance. So the Apis eukaryote, which makes up metazoas of specialized animalia, and mushrooms, which are more than specialized. They're hyper specialized. They have specialities, but the brain stem and the stomach, and it's all like a mushroom, right? That's everywhere at once. So they don't have a brain hierarchy. They don't have the political body arranged the way Animalia does. So mushrooms don't do the same thing. Mushrooms tend to bring resources to other things.
Yeah, and some people think they're off world, like I forgot what the science is of it, but it's something like this is a fungi not found anywhere else, I guess.
Oh, was it sperma? What's it called? Something sperma?
Panspermia, I suppose.
Panspermia.
Yeah, I suppose that could be what I'm talking about. It's like that. It's so different. It's so otherworldly, just like the the meteorite for not shungite, or is it shungite? It's like it came off world. It's complete Moldavite.
That came up last time. Moldavite also. That's hilarious.
Yeah, well, you always have to
both are
talk
from
about
asteroids, supposedly. But I mean,
if don't have a Moldavite by now.
Yeah.
If we don't agree with the whole evolutionary biology thing, then at least to me, the stoned ape theory, although it sounds sympathetic or whatever, is more unlikely. I suspect something else has happened. But then still, what is the role of the fungi? And does it seem so alien because it really is? Or just because we're so disconnected from our own roots?
Right.
And
yeah, I don't think it's
the
that
fungi
alien.
is...
I look at the mushroom and I think that everything kind of emulates the mushroom. You think about how trees grew up tall because mushrooms used to grow up tall. Grass grew up wide because mushrooms used to spread like a film. We learn from mushrooms. And then Paul Stamets shows how dark matter or how distant space is supposed to look. Even in terms of fractal patterns, mushrooms build their nervous system the same way. So the idea of finding mushrooms in space isn't so random. It's more like a foregone conclusion if you believe in space. Same thing with Earth, though. I mean, Earth having
I tend to.
Yeah, well, but whatever it is, like even if it's like a flat Earth, like you're inside of a bubble, the idea of being inside of a giant mushroom film that's
or who knows, it's maybe even a mushroom, because the question is, space. There is, space right in front of me. There may be much more space. The question is, what kind of medium is it? Maybe it's full of fungi. And I have to bring it up again, the science officer who, by manipulating their tardigrade DNA and integrating it with himself in Star Trek Discovery, is using it to access the spore drive, Do
you remember when Rick and Morty popped their tire in a spaceship in space?
His name is Stamets, also in Star Trek Discovery,
Different guy?
It again.
Which Stamets is it?
No. It's definitely a reference to the mushroom Stamets guy scientist.
Oh, okay.
But it's also the name of the science officer in Star Trek Discovery, where they literally have a mushroom drive, and I think it's so hilarious that they made it. And he's gay, of course, to satisfy the SJWs.
I did hear about this, right? Yeah. Paul Stamets, this guy playing him.
I gotta see Star Trek Discovery.
This is also funny because isn't this the guy from Rent? I'm pretty sure he's no big deal, but I noticed that. Like, hold on, I think he is too. Wait, Rent. How do I find this quickly? Star Trek Rent reunion. Yeah, see, boom. Star Trek Discovery stages Rent reunion debut. Get your new trailer. So they're gonna do Rent in Star Trek That's brilliant. I think we've hit the limit of what's possible.
Isn't Deep Space Nine the best one because they mix like prophecy with the material? I don't know. I haven't
Deep Space
seen
Nine
Discovery
is the best
yet.
one. Voyager's all right.
Cisco.
Deep Space Nine is slightly better. Voyager's all right. I think Deep Space Nine is the best because Cisco is I did this once where I went to the Grand Canyon. No, the Mount Rushmore, and at Mount Rushmore they have this projection all about America, but the voice narrator, I was like, wait a second, is that Captain Cisco? And the whole time it was Cisco narrating about America. So I just put my phone in front of my face so I could see next to the Grand Canyon also Captain Cisco just like there talking as it went on.
Oh,
it was just like so
hell
American,
yeah,
freedom.
100% patriotic right there.
What does that tell you about the likelihood of these stories being correct if a science fiction guy's,
Well, so that was the Rick and Morty one where like they're in space and their spaceship, they hit a rock or something and they get a flat tire. I'm like, you get a flat tire in space? Yeah, Morty. And then they get out of the spaceship and they're in a spaceship. All of a sudden he's like, stay in the car, like don't get out. Then Morty gets out of the car and they're like working on the spaceship. And then a snake bites Morty. He's like, you got bit by a snake. You weren't paying attention. It's like, there's snakes in space. Yeah, Morty, everything's in space. But that's going to turn out to be true.
Yeah. It's probably true now. There's probably some snakes, some dragons or something in space fly around. Pleiadians have to kind of like manage that shit. So it might be like, come on. But humanity doesn't really know about the snakes in space yet. You can't just fling your snakes around the back.
But yeah, it seems like Pleiadians and Serpentry, like that definitely, it lends itself to something pretty reasonable.
Elaborate.
Like the Pleiades is a good point. And then we had Giant on the show talking about giant like parts of the earth that look like serpents that might be like ancient leviathans that have been fossilized. Talia was talked about this as well.
Yeah. It's interesting, the archetypes that range through out the cultures and stuff, because I just had a dream. I wasn't on drugs. I just have really wild dreams. Like the dream, I wouldn't even call it a dream. It was like an extra dimensional dragon just descended from I was just sleeping right there. There's no bed there. I just like to sleep on the ground sometimes. And when I woke up from whatever dream I was having, there was a giant dragon in front, a serpent, a Chinese dragon in front of me. And so it was scary. But people always say the dragon, like represents power, and they're friendly, and they're trying to just like tell you. I don't know if anyone's going to believe this, but I saw it was a hyperdimensional dragon right in front of me. And I guess that's like that's symbolism throughout cult. Like people probably did have dreams of dragons, whether they were in whatever the place was. And I don't know if there's actual like, obviously we're joking, but there's probably not actual like space snakes or
I don't know, but hyperdimensional dragon sounds like a pretty reasonable thing, actually.
It's more of like there's some entity and it just takes the form of a dragon for the moment, just to be like, hey, Earthling, you know about dragons, right, man? Like here, like I could be one because I have that power and you don't exactly at the moment or whatever. I think the general.
It's everywhere in mythologies. Recently I heard something about like the combination of the masculine plumed serpent and the feminine rainbow serpent energy or something like this.
That's a freaking dragon. Come on, that's a hyperdimensional dragon if I've ever seen one.
Yes. That wasn't as concrete as like if you just type in dragon,
right?
And look at.
I didn't type in dragon. This is hyperdimensional being.
Yeah, it's still,
clearly dragon came out.
Like I interpret. Yeah, I mean I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. My dragon was cooler though. Like it looked way more dragon. It was. But
this is just an AI representation of a hyper dragon. But the idea still hits of Clockwork Elves.
Yeah, it doesn't that AI is not quite on the point with I mean, I get like he's trying his artwork really well. Like I get it. You're trying.
It's because he's basing all of his dragons off human renderings of dragons. That's the problem. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. That's forgivable. It's forgivable.
But I'm sorry, you were saying about dragons. I don't, or we can even.
So I've had so I've had all the kinds of visions, experiences.
The multiple dimensional dragon that you met in your dream. Did he try to offer you anything, or what was the?
Oh no, no, it just looked at me. But what I can interpret, like I can make up and like that's all I can do is I say, well, I believe, the dragon was trying to put me in the same state of being as him. Like dragons are powerful. It's big, it's powerful. It's like Shenron and Dragon Ball or whatever. That thing, you look at that thing, whoa, you get fearful. What's the point
if you got all your 7 balls together, you can cast the dragon.
Right.
Oh, well, that is a good. I didn't even realize that metaphor lined up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Ball Z is about your chakras. We can Dragon Ball Z chakras. Let's just make
There's
that
even
clear.
one particular scene in Dragon Ball Super where Tenshin Han is training them at some point, and it's only one sentence, but he's literally like teaching some Taoist breathing technique or something. It's just for a sentence, but I'm like, this is straight it. I'm like, it's exactly it, So,
I'm just eating up Dragon Ball Super because it's like you have to like to transcend to God, Super Saiyan or whatever.
Multiple
Super Saiyan Blue,
yeah.
Super Saiyan Blue. You have to.
This is Joseph
calm
Smith.
your mind.
We all knew it. This is Joseph Smith transcending to become God. We knew it. We knew it was. But there's a game called Path of Video, which I want to recommend to everybody. It's really awesome.
It's a really cool game.
So, Jaron, do you play this game? What do you know about this awesome game?
I mean, I think like I in a past life I created that game or something.
Wow, not even that far back.
Yeah, it just feels like a past life. It feels
July
like a past life.
13th, 2021. It was a world ago, but
well, that's when I released it on Steam. It was more like 2020 or 2019, I think. So I worked on that game.
Notice you were about to exit to the official Jaren Fund website. Okay,
it's free to play. It's free to play. That's the cool thing. So I don't know. Maybe if you don't play video games, surely your kids play video games. They would love it. It's it just mixes so many concepts all at once, and then you can buy all those books.
Well, here,
I'll give one for free if you want.
Let me try to get a picture open so people kind of see. But like, what would you say the game? What's the storyline?
Yeah, it takes place in an alternate reality of Earth where you're in the Omni state and you're discovering a mysterious technology that was invented called Vidya. Kind of like the Sanskrit, like the Sanskrit word Vidya. I suppose that means some people interpret it differently. Some people say it literally means science. Some people say it just means knowledge or something like that. Let's look that up. Yeah. So that's, and then on 4chan it means video games. Basically, it's like Hank Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do my Hank Hill real quick. I can't. I haven't done it in a while. Damn it, Bobby! You playing
that's really good.
Damn it, Bobby! Are you playing those video games again? I tell you what, you should be an engineer. Don't you want to play some football, Bobby? And so it has multiple meanings. Isn't that interesting? It's multiple
so a random
meanings.
question: is this comic made by the same guys that did this Beavis and Butthead? At least the voice is okay.
Oh, yeah.
So Raph, do you not know about King of the Hill?
No,
so
because
this
I
is
think my first connection, just to let everyone know who's not American, where maybe this show was played up and down, that my first, I think, connection to Beavis and Butthead was actually some very strange DOS video game. And I watched, I think, and I was just astounded at how ugly it is. And also later when I saw those, I was like, this is so repelling. Like, who would watch this? And it hasn't gotten better since then.
That's why I don't watch it.
That blows my mind. So like so there's a 7-year-old kid. So Brittany's kid, he's probably like 4 or 5 when I first got a Raspberry Pi emulator with all the DOS games. And so that was his first interaction to Beavis and Butthead as well. So it's amazing seeing like a 5-year-old kid in this world used to so much prettiness, you know what I mean, to deal with Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
But King of the Hill starts out as the guy who was he was kind of the neighbor of Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah,
So-
right. The
And
guy with the white
Dario
shirt.
Dario went to school with them as well. So that all these shows
Yeah,
offshoot.
so they like take. I love that, like how they take some characters and put it, because then they have like a subconscious emotional attachment from
Yeah.
the previous. and it
Respect the
continues
IP.
on, and then people make memes, and it continues on to the future. Who knows what will happen?
But I was always like, oh man, as a kid, I was like, but Beavis and Butthead are terrible. And I didn't realize what I didn't like about it. I loved it, but I hated it on principle. And then by the time I was about 13, I realized, oh, because it's derogative against teenagers. And so I feel like it's if I was the NAACP, I would say this was racist. But no, this is racist against teenagers. That's how I'm feeling about it.
Yeah,
And then
it's
as like,
ageist.
yeah, but it's a good thing because you should be making fun of teenagers. You should be making fun of America in general. And then
Yeah,
there's
you
that-
still should, because
Yeah.
otherwise you would live a boring dystopian life if
you-
we don't
you
have
have
fun
to.
like that. Yeah, exactly.
But then King of the Hill is like, so it seems so bad. It's like, oh no, this is making fun of America. It's making fun of like the family, the decent.
Yeah,
And that seems like it should be wrong. But then you watch it, you're like, wow, actually, no, it makes it
it's
it
so
points out the
perfect.
hypocrisy of everyone. And yeah, I think it's probably more relatable today to the rest of the world. I think Germans could watch it now. It's probably dubbed. So
Yeah, so they have it in Japan. Like I know there's the dub
Wow.
in Japan, and I watched and it's actually better because it's Hank Hill, like speaking Japanese. They don't want, who wouldn't want to see that? Of course, there's that episode. We all know that episode. Maybe that's why I don't know. But Japan always likes America and Japan are like this. Why are we so close to each other? Like, why do we have such an awkward but awesome relationship? Who knows?
Can I give you a hint? Could it be because of the whole blockade? The same happened, 1850 or whatever, Portuguese, and
I was gonna say
starting
the nuke.
forcing them to open up the ports, and then having a second world war and imperial. How do you say? With cultural imperialism invading Japan, just like the same that happened to Europe. And then, you get the weird flashback. Though what I really want to know, I'd love to know the opinion of both of you. So there was one time, let's say in a state of increased DMT density, and I was really surprised, where I saw basically like an anime. And then I was looking online and was like, did anybody ever experience this? And I found one singular post on Reddit where someone said, yeah, I was smoking this DMT and I saw this anime. It was really strange. And I was just confused because I hadn't looked at the screen for at least a week. And I was like, why am I seeing an anime? And then, of course, I was wondering, is this some kind of a collective reality too? Or what are they connecting to? Why is the anime style in a particular fashion? Why does it develop a particular way in terms of aesthetics? I mean, maybe you both have opinions or knowledge on this. I don't really. I just,
What was the
I'm just
anime?
observing it. Oh, there's no particular anime, just in general. Like,
you ever watch Pinocchio 964?
I have not.
So
Oh my God.
first thought
Look,
that comes
I
to
wouldn't
mind,
watch that. That's where my nightmares are made of.
let me see. I don't know how I would even go about looking this up, but research chemicals Japan before Olympics. In 2007 in Japan,
They
they
just had the
made-
Olympics, right? In Japan?
yeah, but
Tokyo?
in 2007 when they had it, they
Protesting.
banned a bunch of synthetic psychedelic drugs and research chemicals, which were really popular in Japan. I'm not sure exactly how I'd even go about finding this data, but they had all kinds of crazy psychedelics, and you could buy a
Cyborg
video.
sex slave.
Yeah, you could
That
buy.
does not look that's not the cyborg sex slave, is it?
No, he's a lobotomized cyborg sex slave.
What,
But
oh, okay.
but he started out as just your average Japanese kid who was given a bunch of drugs, and
Yeah.
it's based on the underground in Japan. And the idea is like there at the time, up until 2007, you could get in any video cassette tape cleaner store some weird research chemicals that were available. And so a bunch of Japanese were on really wild drugs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
that's
the
interesting.
style of art and the style of animation that was produced in that time, it almost stopped existing in 2007, because for the most part, you don't have Japanese people running around doing the craziest shit they used to be doing anymore since about 2007, because it's illegal. Before then, it was
Whoa.
completely legal. You just walk into any store and you could get it. It's like not even underground per se. So
That's interesting. Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly what you meant about like the Japanese anime, like you just see anime, but I think also that has to do with like aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I'm just also always wondering, like what, maybe it's higher fish intake or whatever, I don't know, like how do these things truly come about? What is the combination? Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
open
of
question.
all things. I mean, it's a good like I you could take it any direction. Like I know one direction I would take it in. I guess it's not really to the point of the art style because I would have no idea because I haven't studied art in that way. But I know there was someone somewhere something about the idea of the Japanese culture and how how technically, scientifically speaking, on average, they're a little bit shorter than Europeans or something, Scandinavian,
Right.
and so
Right. Italians aren't this, Danny DeVito is fine in Japan.
yeah, no, he fits right in, right in. But so they might feel a little less than in terms of height, and so that's why their anime always focuses on the idea of like start like getting that kind of like superhero of transcendence of power of like
Right. If
that's
you reach
just
super,
that's just
if you
whatever,
reach
I don't
super
know.
Saiyajin level 5, you can look like an American,
Well,
what is it?
have
I
you ever
want to
seen,
body shame
do you know who Douglas Dietrich is? So there's a pretty weird conspiracy theory.
Tell me about this guy, because I saw some random uploads, I think even by a viewer of yours named Maggot, and I was always like, what is this guy exactly? I think you brought him up once before, but please tell me again.
He's not even the first Chinese guy I've met who Michael Aquino's like satanic Temple of Set military general has a connection with, but he's definitely the most vampiristic. Like he seems to be into being a vampire or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. All I know is he seems like a really cool enough guy. I'd like to interview him. I'm not trying to say anything wrong about him because he seems like he's really on to a lot of really correct things. He does like 10-hour videos, which is impressive that someone could sit for 10 hours and do a video.
What does he talk about?
Well, the thing that sticks out to me of all of the many things besides Michael
Secret
Aquino,
Space Program,
and how the Japanese won World War II. And so we think of the Japanese have losing World War II, but they beat everybody according to his theory, and they used a fake flag of the United States to surrender to in order to make a PR stunt for people.
This is interesting.
Never gave the samurai swords back, which the samurai are supposed to surrender their swords if they actually surrender, but they continued on. And the emperor is still in charge of Japan. And then they started making anime for the world about all sorts of different colored people, just so that they could prepare the world for the future under Japan in about 100 years when everyone's gradually folded into this new Alaska or Antarctica empire. Like the Germans and Japanese have
I was about to say just like the Germans also
quietly living on their own in Antarctica, waiting for everyone else to finally use up their entire economy so they can join, by building what they need to build with the people.
Finally exhaust all available resources on known land, so we have to get past the ice ring.
Right. But it makes sense. And then, you've seen Philip K. Dick's whole thing with Japanese controlled California.
No, I haven't seen that.
Well,
I've not seen that.
It's actually better as a book, but the idea is that in the Amazon has a series too. I would say go for the book if you can.
So dude, America have to pick. Sorry, America has to pick like
in the original book. What happens is there's an assassination attempt on FDR, I think it is, in 1930 something, and something changes in the cabinet 20 years earlier. And because of the thing that happened 20 years earlier, eventually there's no policy there to fight the Nazis. And so the Nazis and the Japanese end up winning the war by usurping because America never really decides to become an imperial state in the 30s or something.
Yeah.
But then Japan carves up the West Coast because they're already were there. And up until World War II, when Japanese internment camp moved Japanese people off the coast, right, into these private prisons in Alabama and places, there were all of these cities in California that were just filled. Santa Cruz, Los Angeles, San Francisco, still Daly City, all along the West Coast were filled with Japanese people, and all the way down to Peru. And even like Spanish words like ceviche and sashimi are connected because of this, cultural connection. So it would have been a continuation of Japanese West Coast. And then they call that dark zone the inner zone, where there's been nuclear bombs have dropped or something to like bomb out the, the holdings in the United States. But that is, that's like a whole parallel reality fiction story. Still, it seems weirdly enough related to our actual reality and why anime has blonde people.
And to take it back to supposed history, internment of
Moderate
Japanese
search.
Americans
Yeah.
in 1942. I mean, Andreas or Jaron, maybe you know more about this, but there was the internment of many Japanese people.
Yes.
I always forget about this.
Crazy. I
But
do
could this-
too.
Yeah,
Could
It's
this
crazy.
be that this was
I'm
I'm
from
in
where all
America.
that. I'm from where
last-
all that happened from originally. Like, so a lot of my neighbors were Japanese. My dad's family, my grandfather would keep land for Japanese so that when they got back, they could get their land back. And so there's a few Japanese that still have land in Silicon Valley areas, or did, that were just because otherwise everyone else was trying to make them sell for as little as possible. But we have these cool plates because they gave us these plates as gifts for since we didn't like rip them off. Basically, they're like, wow, that's how fucked it was, really.
Yeah.
But even here, what was the real reasoning? Because it almost sounds to me like another, I don't know, wipe or whatever. Because
totally
obviously there were many Japanese already in America. Because we always wonder, how is it possible there's modern nation states, no one understands each other.
This was
but
so
it seems like there's regular cleansings, or at least recently, to make it artificially separated. Because otherwise,
this kid with a Superman shirt right here probably couldn't speak Japanese. You know what I mean? This lady probably couldn't speak. A lot of these people couldn't speak Japanese, and the ones that could hadn't spoke it since they were kids, because maybe they might have spoken a little bit to their grandparents, but a lot of time it was very common to adapt and to become Americanized. And some of these people had been fourth, sixth, seventh generation. We have no idea how far back it goes, because the Japanese have been coming here since before Columbus. So that's a big confusion that people have as well. Yeah. And then you've got kids when you land in Alabama, because they forced you to go through here. They took all your stuff. They make you have a small backpack. You have almost nothing left. You're living in, let's look at your internment camps here, right? And then you hear some guy say, like, ¿Qué? ¿Dónde está? And you're like, wait, what? And then there's Japanese that are speaking Spanish. And you're like, wait, what happened here? Well, because the OSS went down to Peru and along the coast and grabbed Colombian Japanese citizens as well, and took them from their homes in the middle of the night and threw them into the only internment camps they had. But all of a sudden, you had Spanish Japanese people. They're like, what are we doing here? And then the American Japanese wouldn't want to be anywhere near the Spanish speaking Japanese. So after the war, when they apologized to the Japanese American citizens, that apology didn't extend to refugees who had been stolen from their other countries and imported into these Japanese American internment camps. So some of these guys got like 20 grand or something afterwards in the 80s, right? You're like 80 years old and they give you like, we're sorry we stole your family's land, and as a kid we put you in a prison camp. Here's an apology. But that apology would never even, not even the money, not even the apology would extend to the refugees who were stolen from Peru.
Oh, man.
But then just briefly, can somebody explain to me what would be the valid nation state logic to go to Peru or wherever, or Mexico, and snatch people that definitely wouldn't be agents against you? I mean, doesn't this already kind of, is there a nation state logic for this?
It's hard to impress
about culture and memory wipe.
It's hard to impress upon people how seriously racist the World War II propaganda was.
That's right.
Because they were like, it's really hard to make sense of it.
You can show the Donald Duck one. Or what is it? There's some good one with the furrow or something.
The Donald Duck one is tame because it's just about the Nazis, but it's about the ideology of being a Nazi, right? Which is like, you have to choose to do that. So at least there's that. With the Japanese, hold on, there was a good one right there. The Japanese are who they are because of who they are. Like, they're Japanese, so therefore, you can see it. They look like the bad guy because they're not, they you can't choose to. And the Germans, you couldn't put German Americans in internment camps. We can round up all these Amish and like para-Amish people that have a quarter German in them. I mean, but this is so eugenics based. The Irish had already made it illegal for Japanese to own property in certain places in California. They'd already in the 19th century pushed Japanese out of certain zones, trying to congregate them, get all the Japanese in Watsonville. out of downtown Santa Cruz. We're going to only let the Irish be business owners in downtown.
Well,
Santa
it's
Cruz.
interesting. Internment can't. I don't know how much we can talk about this on YouTube, but
Go for it. I don't care. What are they going to do?
Sure?
I mean,
Okay.
shout out to all of the Japanese people that I grew up with in California that had their land stolen.
That is crazy. And it kind of like in the modern day, I suppose, with the vaccines and everything, I guess Noam Chomsky was talking about, we should probably like build internment camps and have the anti-vaxxers or China.
That sounds like Noam Chomsky.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing coming out of Noam Chomsky's usually kind of on the ball, but not on that one. No, that's kind of weird that we would. And then I guess China already is doing that, so it's already a kind of a happening again. But it's not racist. It's not racist. It's more medical.
Yeah, that's just a state thing. That's a state ideology, because it's like they're not. It's in China because everyone's Chinese. It's not about their race. It's just about their choices, and that becomes a bigger thing, controlling people about whether or not you. I mean, I saw this coming a few years ago when people started talking about social medicine, because if social medicine comes to the United States, I'd love to see how Canada compares it, because Canada doesn't really do this, but imagine beating up a kid because their parents smoke. You know, it's like, man, your parents cost all of our tax-paying families more money, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is the beginning of, and in America, it would definitely start to, hey, fat kid, your family cost our families money, and that's going to be weird. There's going to be a correlation between the value of a person and what choices they're making, and their cost of a person to society.
Really? So you would think you would just be lax about that, but no, people want things faster. And
I mean, the same people that normally would beat people up, the same kinds of people that normally are bullies anyway. And there's an increase of bullies because there's more scarcity in society. There's poorer kids that are fighting each other. That's where bullies came from originally, it seems like.
Yeah. I was going to say, on the point of Japan, if you've never been to Japan, wow, go to Japan. Japan's great. I love Japan. The buildings, the aesthetics, the people, very nice place. I really want to go back, see Mount Fuji and stuff. Yeah. Just keep it light. Look at that. All that.
Keep it light.
Yeah. Cherry blossom. You were saying about the secret space program of that one guy. I was going to say, since we are on the topic of Japan, I guess I was reading Benjamin Fulford for a while. I haven't really listened to him recently, and he's always talks about like the White Dragon Society, or they're working to try to get humanity more money. Basically, they're like trying to get checks in the like Nasera and all that stuff. I'm like, wow, that always sounds really good. It always sounds awesome. Like, that would be great if just you got it. Everyone got it. I don't know how the homeless people would get money, but I'm sure we would find a way. But it's interesting. And then the Illuminati or whatever, I don't know, who knows like what's going on in those spheres. There's no tracking that.
What do you think the White Dragon Society is exactly?
I don't. Yeah, so that's more
like a non-human run Earth. I read
supposedly, from what I understand.
Yes, right. He would know.
From what I listened to some of his reports. It's interesting and entertaining. Yeah. What I like about him in general is that he has, on some levels, quite, I would say, a sober view. For example, he's saying like all governments are essentially run by the underground mafia, and they are actually deciding what's happening on the surface. And always mentioning, whether it's the CIA, whether it's the Yakuza, whether it's whatever, triads and so on. Supposedly, he says he's in contact with all of these groups. And among those, there would also be secret groups that are related to the royalty or something. And that would basically, similar to what you mentioned, Andreas, with Douglas Dietrich, where he said they basically went underground and kept their power base and, kept ruling from the shadows. Yeah. And supposedly in his, let's say, worldview, they are all uniting now against the Khazarian mafia.
Dude, dragons. Yeah, all right, that's interesting.
And so the Taoist, maybe some of them are Taoist immortals. Who knows? Like maybe some of them have lived thousands of.
Right. That'd be fun.
Have their chi energy locked down. They're probably just eating like herbs from the ground. I guess the healthiest thing you get, Chinese herbs, mixing that together, putting that.
You can show this 200-year-old guy, Andreas. Do you know about him? The 200-year-old Chinese, or 193-year-old or something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wait.
No, but Chinese, or go on.
There was a guy that was 300 years old that they have recorded in China. don't they? There's someone 300. There's a guy 300 years old. Who cares about 193?
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the first time someone stole someone's birth certificate. You know what I mean? But
Wait, what do you mean? What do you? No, I don't. What do you mean?
well, you just every 20 or 30 or 40 or 60 years or something like that. You just like when somebody dies, you just get their birth certificate.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then you could be, the Dread Pirate Roberts.
I didn't know that. Wait. Like, so are you
the
saying
Dread Pirate Roberts,
no,
right?
No.
So in Princess Bride, there's this guy who's the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Oh yeah,
He's
I do.
only the Dread Pirate Roberts until the Dread Pirate Roberts retires, and then you become the Dread Pirate Roberts. So, I mean, you could do that.
Got you. Okay.
Not everyone can get away with that, but you could. In certain circumstances, that'd be a pretty good gag. You'd make a good shtick, make some money from.
You really deflated my bubble there, because I guess the 193 guy would be better.
I question all parlor tricks. Jeremy Fawcett sends us 1123. I like it. I don't see a comment exactly, but I like it anyway. Thanks a lot. 1123 is what's this? You know what? 1123 gematria. That's what we'll find out. We'll just make a question out of it for him. What is 1123? Jared Kushner.
Wow, I heard that in my sleep last night. That's weird.
And Moscow. Okay.
Wait, you dreamt about Jared Kushner?
Oh no, yeah, I just heard the voice yesterday, just like Jared. I'm like, what? Who the hell is a political person or what? Who is?
Oh yeah, that's the the husband of.
Are you sure?
I don't know anymore. The way Hollywood works, the way these people work,
it's too much incense to even keep track of.
Trump's daughter's husband and immortal character.
Look at that face.
Yeah,
no, I don't know about that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, he's what's his deal? He runs like Israel's money. He's got
snap.
Saudi government. He's got all kinds of cool things going on. See, since leaving White House, Kushner founded Affinity Partners, a private equity firm that derives most of its funds from the Saudi government sovereign wealth fund. Okay, so the new Magog, the new George Bush Sr. kind of character.
And then just one brief question. Maybe we spoke about this some other time, Andreas, but what then do you say if rituals do matter and giving up samurai swords or not? There was this huge ceremony, with Trump and this Saudi prince then or something, and they did the sword dance. And also with the whole Tartaria Asiatic rabbit hole, could it be that those are like, the highest level rituals that actually do mean something if it is displayed in such a way?
Absolutely. So, for instance, the changing of the guard, in Washington, D.C. is like one of the most important things that there is.
Also with the Queen, no? The changing of the guards?
Right. Whoa, so let's see if I can look that up. A changing of the guard, Arlington, Virginia, and then we'll go look at London first. But I've seen this happen, and people think it's like kind of a silly thing, right? Because it's like but it's not. It's like this is a very serious. It's showing that there's a constant guard on. It's like a visual representation of the ritual, and changing of the guard happens every day, because the guard can't stay up all night until robots. But let me look up the London
robots
changing of the guard.
They already do look like Agent Smiths, though. So
yeah, they totally do. I mean, they are, and they're from like the South every time. They've got that like I was raised in Virginia or Maryland kind of vibe, like Florida or something.
It looks like they were bred for that job. Could that be?
Exactly.
I mean, would anybody be surprised?
They totally are, though. Their parents are soldiers, like they are. They're made for it. They're best at it. I agree. But see, London, I don't have as much of a familiarity. I know that these guys are nuts. They have these crazy Afro hats, which is very racist. I don't understand.
Right. How do they? But also,
how do they get away with that? 2022.
How would they come up with this? Also, with this, the other thing I wanted to ask you, Xirtus, with the declaration I showed last time, because you also have this Phrygian cap on it, this rat cap. There's always this symbolism, and even though so many times I heard about it, Phrygian, it's F-P-A. This one, it's already this. Yeah, Phrygian. Yeah.
I know better, but for whatever reason, I did it that way. I know, because I could have just put Smurf cap. I know.
Oh yeah.
Right.
There's a lot to this symbol. I remember one time I was messing with Tim, like, because Tim Pool always wears a beanie. So I was like, so I got him like a thing. I was like, dude, look at the beanie through history. And I printed out all this stuff around the house. Kind of a joke, just like, what does the beanie really mean? What is Tim trying to say? Like, he's like, I know, it's all part of the plan. But yeah, the Phrygian cap is also the mushroom. Let me look if we can find a seal.
Okay, it's a mushroom.
That's one
But
badass hat, but I gotta wear that hat.
It's a great hat. It is a cool hat. It is
That
the
is a
hat.
style.
It's
like,
a traveler's hat, but
you
also
wear it with
these,
pajamas.
every symbol ever, and this is a pretty great one, right? You've
A
got
snake and a mushroom and
Yeah.
What?
a lightning
This
rod as
will
well.
Defend.
Yeah, and then let me go to the other examples, because the thing is, it's not just that one. It's like I can go to Argentina, I can go to Slovenia, I can go all over the world, and you'll find Phrygian caps all over everything. Almost always they're on top of a staff. You know, here you go on the fascia, right? Italy with the Phrygian cap. So often I think it has to do with the explorers, travelers. They the first to settle a colony, a place, but yeah, a colony that has a culture that's being incultured into it. And there's a reason why it's Smurf. The Papa Smurf wears a red Phrygian cap.
Why is it? Yeah. Why is it?
I mean, because it's the leadership. It's like because that is the hat of the underneath the gods, underneath the there's the community. The community is run by the dude with the Phrygian cap. Underneath the ladies and the god, like this lady is a god, so the gods are the goddess Libra or whatever she is.
Yeah.
So the guy who takes the most mushrooms is the leader. Am I getting this right?
It seems like that
just
might
like the religion of the mushroom religion with Christianity, or whatever. You read that book, right? Or
yeah. But yeah, there's something also there about like the leadership of the colony, the Phrygian colony. Phrygian, right? There you go. I always do this. Colony.
like the one of Papa Smurf flipping off people and having fun with it. That's a great image,
dude. But yeah, I mean, so it tends to be like every single established colony has that as its one of its first symbols.
So basically it's not to be answered definitely, but I'm always wondering with these symbols, especially if it signifies mushroom, I'm always like, do they have their own meaning for it, or did they just subvert the symbol and just put it on top because there is some epigenetic memory in terms of we already use that, but it's not really.
I mean, it's literally called the Liberty Cap. So the fact that it's called the Liberty Cap, if you guys recall, Liberty Cap also is a mushroom.
You think if I open a chain store and just start selling some of these hats, people would grasp on, and then does it just look cool? That's what I'm thinking when I look at that flag. There are people they're just like, I like it. It has a little.
It's slightly cooler than a regular beanie because that little dingling thing. I agree. Scythians, Persians, Medes, Balkans, Dacians, Thracians, Phrygians, and then in Phrygia. So or Phrygia.
Yeah.
I always heard it Phrygia for some reason. Fergie's the way I think of it in my head, but maybe that's my own fault. I think that's correct though. The original cap of liberty was the Roman pileus and the felt cap of emancipated slaves of ancient Rome, which was attributed to the Libertas, the Roman goddess of liberty. Okay, so that's the idea of freed slaves wearing the hat. So a freed slave runs society. That might be a way to connect it.
That's awesome. It just has power to it. It just has magical power, basically.
Right.
And it looks cool. I think it's more that it looks cool, but I can't be I'm not God in that way. So
you're allowed to tell me if you think a hat looks cool. I don't know. Well,
right.
we could jump into the triads or something, but like, what is where we go? Where are we going?
Well, I was going to bring it to some point. I'm sure I there was some point about Japan that I wanted to get back to. I think. Well, okay, yeah, that's what it was. It was really small. It was like the idea of honor in Japan, I suppose, is still. My brother lived there for a while. I visited him a couple times. It's a really cool place. I get how like it's just a really good idea to buy a Japanese car. I think this is just my humble opinion because
my car is Japanese.
Yeah, because they're more reliable. Why are they more reliable? Because they don't
want to dishonor themselves. Yeah.
Exactly.
Who did that?
Don't want dishonor. They have news stories and like companies will just like shame their whole family line if they make a car that doesn't run. Like Ford doesn't care. Like American wants American car, we'll just say buy American, and then they'll be like, yeah, we don't care if it breaks.
I wish I could
down.
remember who this was, but there was like one of the like CEOs of one of these major companies, like
Suicide forces.
Yeah, well, he committed suicide. Like he did seppuku harikari with a sword because his car company had too high emissions in like 2003. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I mean, they take it pretty seriously.
Yeah, they do. It seems like they take it a little too serious. I think we're kind of managing that problem. I don't know. I think we'll get there. Peter Kalmus doesn't think so. You know, Climate Human, he just every day he will say like destroy like fossil fuels are the enemy. Why are politicians like? It's great. It's great. Follow him on it's great stuff.
He just like yells at the sky.
Yeah,
NASA climate scientist arrested for protecting Earth. Okay.
Yeah, he was because he did the climate like a climate thing, and police were like, yeah, stop, we don't care.
Yeah, he sounds very Dawkins. Remember, the reason carbon offsets are so popular with corporations is because they don't actually work. They're just cheap greenwashing. Well, okay, well that's true though.
Of course, and just random news
from
Energy Crisis Europe. From what I heard yesterday, Germany is turning up their coal plants once again, which is arguably the dirtiest form of energy they could have. But this is where all this insanity.
I mean, but look what China's doing. They're just buying up solar because I guess they're like their philosophy. I don't know. Maybe they're better at time management.
What I like is like all the countries that didn't have oil yesterday that have oil today because Russia just like is what do you call it? Where you launder the oil. It's like, okay, now this oil is from this country now. And then Putin will call up and like, how do you like that oil you got from Dalmatia or from Bulgaria or whatever it is, you know, it's every time.
We do put sanctions. We're saying like Putin's the enemy, and we put sanctions on him, and we're like, but we still want your oil. We still like
need
that.
it. They need it. They'd rather buy it from somebody else.
We hate you, but we still want. We love you. Yeah.
Well, it's just cool because like that makes oil more expensive, and that's good for everybody. But no, I mean,
I think so.
The thing is,
I think kind of, but not all. But I think but
the problem is like no matter how expensive it is, the state now has to pay extra for the state to pay it to go through another state. So whatever it costs, it's more.
I mean, maybe it increases the pressure on actually releasing efficient energy conversion and generation technology. But what is actually your current assessment or intuition? What is the, let's say, degree of validity or reality to this current explosions and so on? Because I don't have enough information on it. But to what extent is it a media op, and to what extent is it really happening?
I mean, we're clearly getting to the point where no one has any money anymore. And so it's like when you go to the store and it's the organic, more expensive store. Well, yeah, but I just mean the state itself is making sure to own all the resources. And so it's you'll own nothing and be happy point. But to do that, you have to spend the last of your money on the more expensive version of the oil. And you have to pay to, you know, what's it called? To donate $1 to like some kid in need when you buy your groceries. So you're buying your oil, and then they say, okay, now you have to support the state on the process because that state's not going to be able to do it. And it's all kind of this nonsensical series of excuses to get all of the money out as quickly as possible, because you get everyone broke. If everyone's broke, then it won't matter anymore anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's your idea of like? Would that be a good? You know how Burning Man, they don't use money over there. That kind of system?
Well, I mean, they don't.
Oh well, they used a little bit. Like, well, to
that's
get
because
there,
the idea
it just helps to be a millionaire when you set up your camp. I guess.
Yeah, let's be real. It's like a scarcity. It's a false scarcity from Ayn Randis, and you know we're headed towards a point where, like Europeans, it's natural to have a certain amount of social services because that subsidizes the monarchy. The monarchy doesn't want to have people robbing each other all the time because that's not very productive. So just keeping people from working that's a safety mechanism, right?
What do you think about that rainbow over when the Queen died? There was a rainbow. What's the symbolism of that?
Well, I mean, the rainbow is supposed to be that God was like really annoyed with humans and murdered them, and then decided not to murder them anymore with water, that next time it'll be with fire, right? Yeah. So kind of a reminder thing, maybe, that like the next thing will be order out of fire, like chaos.
So that's happening now. I mean, whatever. It's always been
Yeah, I
chaos.
mean, what do you think about the transition to royal family? I mean, that's pretty weird.
I don't know anything about that. Oh,
Well, you have feelings. You can have feelings. You don't have to know everything.
yeah,
Do
I
you think
got
that
you.
there's a transition of reality? I mean, like transition into King's period. What are you thinking about?
Yeah, I wish like the monarchy would dissolve. I don't know, but people still like it. It's still fun.
Well, they did get rid of some of it. The Danish family just renounced the titles of some of the kids, the 4
Some of them?
grandkids. Yeah, I forget which ones they were. It's like the younger one.
Oh, yeah,
Danish
it's a whole
crown.
process. I didn't even think
Nice.
about the idea of like lineages. So you'd have to like take apart the whole just one by one. Oh, keep going. Sorry.
No, I'm just typing and looking through it. News, Danish nobility. Sorry, not sorry. Queen strips 4 grandchildren of royal titles. Sorry, not sorry. That's what the title. What the hell? The Queen of Denmark issued a public apology this week after stripping her 4 of her grandchildren of their titles, a move that drew strong reactions and apparent royal spat. In a statement released to the palace Monday, Queen Margaret II said she underestimated how the news would affect her second son, Prince Joachim, and his 4 children, set to lose their prince and princess title, as well as his and her highness title next year. The 82-year-old monarch last week announced the titles of Prince Joachim's descent would be discontinued in January. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a dick move, right? Like, I mean, it's okay if your son's a bad son, all right, but what do these kids do? Unless, like, but cold and Scandi.
How much money do they get? What's
I
that?
mean, honestly,
the
all
open
I
source
can
bank
think
account?
about, and maybe we don't know if there were really enlightened rulers, maybe the Tsar of Russia or whatever. It's unknown, let's say, and there are arguments to be made, monarchy against the current form of democracy. However, all that I can think of, even with the Queen, when everyone was feigning that they're so sad and whatever, first of all, I'm pretty sure the event was timed and it was not like natural occurrence in terms of the timeline. And the other thing is, I'm not sure if Andreas, you know about this, but there were the 10 missing Kamloops school children of 1964, which were last seen with the Queen Kamloops. It's Kamloops school children. Oh my God, there's even more. Okay, so this is with the Queen. I can send you the video.
215. What did you freaking say?
But this is something else. So I can send you the link. I'm not sure how much you can show or how much you can show of this on YouTube or how crazy they are about this.
This will never. This is where you get a strike, Andreas. This is the.
No, you can just show the picture. It's fine. You don't have to play it. But anyway, so there's this information.
No,
this is all I think about, and of course Prince Andrew and so on. And they made a big fuss about this, because I was watching the ceremony, and they mentioned 100 times. Oh, poor Prince Andrew is not allowed to wear his military uniform because of these evil accusations. And also what I found really curious, and I'm generally not one to be like, oh my God, Q everywhere in 17, but I found it really strange. I think they also mentioned 100 times, I guess this is the press release they gave to everybody, which then, in Austrian local stations, they're repeating the same information all 5 minutes because it's all they have. And they always said they were, I believe, it wasn't 89, but it was some some kind of figure that came down to 17. And I was like, why are they mentioning that it's this very strange number of, I think, Royal Marine Guards? You can also look this up, how many Royal Marine Guards escorted the Queen. And I was like, this is such a strange number. And why do they put this number everywhere? It's like, what does it matter? Yeah. Yeah.
Did you see the Twitter account that predicted the Queen's death?
Right.
I don't know, like a year prior or whatever.
Yeah.
And people are like, all right, what did he do? Like, people are trying to figure it out. Like, did he just make a bunch of predictions? And that's kind of
well, he did. He also predicted that the King William III will die, right? Or King Charles III will die at 26, and King William will happen afterwards.
Cool. I wonder if he's working with like some AI.
Yeah.
Oracle thing. Probably.
There is a pretty good one. Was it the what's the name of that program? There's a pretty good one.
Okay, so just to be clear, it was 98 Royal Navy sailors, and 9 + 8 is 17. Yes. Yeah. 98 Royal Navies. I'm always like, why 98? Why not 100? It's like,
well, 98
yeah,
is
round it off.
Good.
Yeah. No. I would round it off. I'd be like, nice and even. 98. What? Come on, two more.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason. It's probably like 93 and then 5 special guards or something. You know, some Thelema stuff going on. Queen lies in state at Westminster Hall after royals escort her on final journey. You remember when the dude came and tried to like open the coffin? It's like,
No,
show
really?
yourself. Yeah, there was a dude arrested.
I just saw the one of the guards like collapsed. That happens sometimes. They pass out. But I don't know. It's
2
just
men
interesting.
charged: heckler, assault, Queen, funeral. Where is it? Man arrested after rushing Queen's coffin. Yeah. There is he.
Who knows what he would have found inside, you know, when
Right,
the hologram is turned off and
he
who
wanted
knows,
to
the skin changes back or something, you know.
Yeah. He wanted to see if there was even anybody in the coffin at all, or if it was just a bunch of nonsense.
Of course.
Yeah. There was actually, it was the Ark of the Covenant, just irradiate. No, I think that's somewhere in Africa. So I forget. I don't know what the theories are about that. What do you? Maybe there is like some sort of artifact in there or whatever. You have any theory? Does anyone? I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. What do you think about the Ark of the Covenant? I mean, it's supposed to kill people if they touch it. It might be.
I meant by the
electrical or
Queen. I meant the Queen's thing, but yeah, let's also.
Oh wait, no. Which Queen thing?
The thing you were just showing.
Oh, the
is there?
funeral thing?
Would there be like maybe the Holy Grail? Is there? You know what?
She's supposed to be knighted on the scone stone, which is the Jacob's ladder. He sleeps on that stone. That's they queen and they crown everyone on top of the scone stone. So there's that.
Whoa.
And let me put up something else, just because of course it's obvious it marks a transition, even if it's just a media op, but it marks some kind of a change. Obviously, that's heavily publicized. Supposedly more people saw this than anything else ever. And some years ago, I saw a really great presentation again by Michael Tessarian, whom I brought up last time. And it was about the tarot, I think the tarological correspondences to the Queen's coronation in 1953 or something. And he's like really declinating it with all the symbolism and so on. And what he's always mentioning is that she's getting apparently something that's called the cap of maintenance. Cap of maintenance.
What's that?
And there is, of course, the big question, like, is she only maintaining some kind of an order as a steward for some other real or imagined, I don't know, astral entity, someone who left, who's gonna come
more of that
back,
Fergie is
or
like a
what are they
Santa
doing?
Claus Fergie and cap. What the heck? Okay.
I think UFO sightings increased after the Queen. I don't know, but
or they
we
really
also have
turned on
another-
Blue Beam. We
We
never
have
know,
another
right?
super chat.
But-
I'm sorry if I
but-
missed any.
Wait.
Just gonna
But
say,
that
Sticky Marks had a super chat. Holy cow! Being a born again and again and again and again Hindi is hard work for karma. The scam for loose centrals. Yes, way LNPs. Y'all love y'all. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Wow, that's great. Keep donate. This show is great. Everyone donate and share right now.
Exactly.
My God, why wouldn't you share this? This is a crazy. I was going to say to the point Raphael was making about some sort of entity beyond that. Yeah, I was sort of like taken to the point we were talking about, like a metaphysical, like a higher self, a higher entity looking after us. Is that,
dude, the cap of maintenance?
what?
Yeah.
So explain what the cap of maintenance
Yeah,
is.
or
again,
even let's
'cause
just look at their royal crest too. I think
There we
that
go.
can maybe give some cues. Their royal crest, the Queen Elizabeth royal crest.
Oh, okay.
Because it has like the unicorn and the lion and so on.
Are you talking about the House of Windsor crest?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe who knows? Maybe hers has a lizard on it too.
Right. Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, is it a lizard or a dragon? I really need to know.
Unicorn. There we go. Boom. Lion and unicorn. Pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, that is sweet. That unicorn is way more fierce than any unicorn I have ever seen depicted.
So below it says Dieu est mon droit, which is God and my right or my law. And then in the middle one, I actually can probably read it. Something about bad. I can look up the meaning.
I like that the fact that these animals look so vicious means they probably murdered unicorns at one point, right?
Oh,
And they're
yeah,
like,
wait,
no, they
you
were
think they did?
violent. Yeah, I mean, with a face like that, they're
Oh,
like, no, it was coming right for us. You know, we had to.
Oh, that's too bad. I want a couple of unicorns around. They probably could have changed their ways, you know? Like
Unicorns were probably chill. It was just they decided to kill the unicorns because they wouldn't let them ride around on them or something.
Oh man,
You know.
that sucks. You think it's the same with dragons?
I like the Rick and Morty again, where dragons were they're basically just like sexually deviant, and so
Oh yeah, yeah, like the Kundalini serpent dragon makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a lot of good symbolism there too. Rick and Morty. I haven't even. Well, anyway, I don't want to get off tangent.
Oh, and just briefly, just to translate the other part, honi, which is not even really French, I think modern, soit qui mal y pense, which supposedly means shamed be whoever thinks ill of it. That is part of the crest. So shaming everyone who thinks bad of their symbol or them or whatever. And I mean, they're doing that pretty all right, I guess. But yeah,
dude, I want that
evil
symbol.
eye,
That's
supreme
crazy.
or something, you know.
Whoa, that's brilliant. That's a brilliant way to do it.
Shouldn't shame people for insulting things.
I saw something about that recently though that was kind of on that same wave. I don't know if I can find it if I search for what is it? AI generated sigil. Somebody did this recently. They've been doing AI generated occult sigils, and you know, some of these are obvious, like like sigil of Baphomet. Like, you know, come on, bro, be a little bit more creative.
Yeah.
But there was one that was good. I just can't remember where it was. It was like
Satanism
it said something
gets
to
old.
yeah, but it wasn't that.
Pagan.
They'd made a sigil that said, like, you know, in order to you know, be popularized, but also to shield you from your detractors, like to hide the symbol from people that would be. I forget.
You gotta hide symbols sometime.
Yeah, but it seemed like it was a cool idea that it was like this symbol is meant to be seen by people who want to see the symbol, but also to be invisible by people who don't want to see the symbol. Maybe that's why I couldn't pull it up just now.
Oh, snap! You're right. Dang. That's exactly the magic works. Someone in chat's gonna have to find that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I got it on Twitter at some point. I can put it in the description, but yeah, do you have other things you want to go into? We did Japan. We could go into video game. We were supposed to talk a bit about theocratical game design. Do you have thoughts on game design?
Yes, game design is very interesting. I guess I was just talking to someone. It said, you know how like that Darren Brown like brainwashed a guy to like murder someone, but he didn't really murder. You know, it was like a fake murder, right? It was like a fake assassination. You've heard about that, right?
What is the Darren Brown?
He's like a mentalist person who hypnotizes people and does tricks and stuff. And I guess it was on, maybe it wasn't real because it was on TV, you know. So I don't know like how, if he did it or not.
Could have been a lie in and of itself. Could have probably real. You can probably get people to do it.
I think
how did he do it?
I think it probably could, you know, just like MK Ultra stuff, basically just like have cues, you know, every time he sits down with a red shirt, he associates something with the red shirt and that triggers his programming so that he tries to find a person that's kind of like a blank slate that is suggestible, you know, no one listening to this obviously would be that kind of blank slate, but just finds a perfect person to brainwash and then trains him to use a gun. And then they set up like a fake scenario, but he thought it was all real, like a theater or something like that. And they had, what's his name? Stephen Fry was just like lecturing about something. And then they brought the guy into the theater, and then Darren Brown comes, like sits down with a shirt. I guess it was a red shirt or with roses but I don't know what the symbolism he decided to pick. And the guy got up, pulled out his gun, and just like shot at Stephen Fry. And he thought it was like, you know, live ammunition. Obviously it wasn't. And at the end, Darren Brown was like, yeah, maybe we should question how like sometimes assassins aren't evil. Sometimes they're just brainwashed. So he put like JFK at the end of the clip. And he's like, sometimes maybe we need a compassion for assassins. And I'm like, yeah, maybe we do. Holy shit. I even, because they don't know what they're doing. What was it? Lee Harvey, you know, that whole stuff. I don't want to get in.
No, but that's an interesting thing. The idea that maybe, you know, I mean, who's to say if it was actually Lee Harvey Oswald anyway, but if it was, the idea that it was, that he was, you know, mind wash Manchurian Candidate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
I still haven't seen that movie, but I've got to. eventually.
It's on that wave. It sounds like you saw the home game, version of it. Like someone
Maybe.
trains somebody to respond to certain stimuli, certain ways, and eventually that can make you.
Yeah. So that was just I guess, who made that movie? I guess they just, were talking with people who had connections, realized that whole thing was going on at the same time, I imagine.
The original is a book in 1959 by Richard Condon.
A novel, what was the year?
The novel came out in 1959.
59. Okay. So I can't I'm not really good at history here, so can't really connect it to any points.
Well, communist conspiracy, 59 to after World War II, the communists were becoming more and more powerful. The United States was more and more concerned.
That was the whole Red Scare thing?
Yeah, Red Scare times. And the idea that the Soviet commando unit during the Korean War in 1952 are taken to Manchuria, brainwashed into believing the Shah saved their lives in combat, for which Shah is subsequently awarded the Medal of Honor. Years after the war, Marco, now back in the United States, working an intelligence officer, begins suffering a recurring nightmare in which the seated platoon members are surrounded by a group of sweet little old ladies who had been a part of the brainwashing. One of the ladies tells Sergeant Shaw to murder two of his platoon comrades. And so, yeah, the continual dreams. Hey, look, plagiarism. Software developer Silvio noted several long passages of the novel seem to be adapted from Robert Graves' 1934 novel I, Claudius. Dang, good job, software.
Yeah.
Could look into that a bit.
For sure.
But the idea of mind control is pretty big.
But did he know he was plagiarizing? Because like sometimes you get ideas and they just you deny them, and then you deny them so much that the thought comes back in your head, and you're like, I got an original idea going on. And so if
you wrote it in such a way that an algorithm picked up on it, it's probably intentionally stolen. It's like nobody cared about this 1934 book.
Just as we talk about recurring nightmares and time loops, I just sent the link, Andreas. I think you may both enjoy this, because Andreas, I'm not sure how up you are on this particular time combination. I mentioned Michelle Gibson a few times, and I totally think if you could talk, it would be amazing. This is one of the things she brings up. Maybe you can just read it. It's not so much, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and you will, know about the dates too.
17. Interesting number these days, I guess.
You wanna do the honors rap?
Oh, sure. So Michelle Gibson often mentions 1492 and 1942, with 1717 as the midpoint. So the time loop theory, there are 450 years between 1492, the year of the fall of Granada, which we talked about in terms of Crusader Kings, fall of Iberia, and Columbus' first voyage, and 1942, midway through World War II, and the year of the Philadelphia experiment, which he argues were the boundary years of the new 3D time loop. The year 1942 is a numeric anagram to 1492. There are 9 50-year periods between 1492 and 1942. There are 450 years in between 1492 and 1942. And halfway at 225 years is 1717. She found these anomalies when she started looking at historical events from the year 1717. On June 24th, 1717, the Premier Grand Lodge of England, the first Freemason Grand Lodge, was founded in London. And then on 7/17/1717, again the 17s, like with Q, an interesting date from a numerological perspective, the premiere of Georg Friedrich Handel's water music took place for King George I on a barge on the Thames. Almost halfway through World War II, on July 22nd, 1942, the Philadelphia experiment took place at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. She thinks that the 1740 to 1741 Great Frost of Ireland was where this rip in the fabric of space-time occurred, and that the Philadelphia experiment was a causal factor of the rip. Specifically the time-traveling naval vessel USS Eldridge, which up to this day, I think Jaron knows this is a common game reference. Everything is Eldridge. It's like a magic unto itself.
Oh, I have stories about that too.
Michelle Gibson argues that we have been living under an occulted system of time. The new timeline was somehow inserted and everything was grafted onto the existing infrastructure on the planet and falsely attributed in the new historical narrative. she also brings up many other points, for example, the polarization of states, just like with now South Sudan and so on in the civil war, North Korea, South Korea, and just really shows very well this divide and conquer strategy, and also talks about the planetary energy grids and so on, and how, you know, golf courses are most likely just a cover up for old mound sites and all of that good stuff, you know.
Nice. Yeah, the
Hot damn.
Eldridge. What you said, you had a story about the Eldridge as well?
So Eldridge, if I get right, isn't that connected sort of? Didn't Lovecraft kind of like popularize that word? Am I wrong?
I think so, yeah.
Right? Eldridge, Lovecraft.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, I was thinking
Horrors,
Eldritch.
Eldritch. That's still good. That's good. That's a good enough clip. Yeah.
Like, is
Eldritch
this what
horror.
is this what we're talking about here? Eldritch.
I think we might be
Totally,
now.
but I just want to know if the US has Eldritch, what was earlier, like Lovecraft or this Eldritch? Like, does he have?
Yeah, so
did he
Lovecraft
draft
probably-
a name from that.
Yeah, so Lovecraft probably again plagiarized off of some reality.
I mean, this is good. John Eldridge, who led the operation for invasion off the Solomon Islands. I'll take whatever metaphor I can get, but keep going.
So I believe, so I've seen vision. By the way, I don't know if anyone will believe this, but I mean, I've had like astral visions of people call them different things. I think the demon name is Yaldabaoth or whatever, the occult. I don't know. It's kind of like freaky to talk about, but whatever. It's all just reality anyway, so it doesn't have to scare anyone. It's the same idea as like a dragon is before you, whatever. Cthulhu is before you. Who can, like, what are you scared of, really? And I guess he was looking at occult literature. Lovecraft was the actual real like Sumerian occult literature. There was that whole book. Damn, what's it called? The Necronomicon. And
yeah,
that's a fact, because that was like actually, you know, and people wanted it to be fiction. But then they're like, well, we don't want it to be fiction. We want it to sort of be real. And then we want people to make it.
Where you have all the sigils and the demons.
Happens.
And with many of the demons, it literally says below it, like, be careful when summoning this demon likes to randomly kill people. You know? So I was like, okay. You know?
Yeah. I picked up the book and I'm like, I don't know, demons. Like, and then people believe, well, you already touched the book, so and I'm like, well, I'm beyond the book or whatever. They just scare you. That's the whole point of the Lovecraft, is like, I want to scare. It's the whole point of any magical system, I believe. It's just like, how can we scare people? How, in what way can we make ourselves believe this book is? And so whatever. So Lovecraft's fiction was just as good as I mean, to me, it was like I've had visions of Cthulhu just because I picked up Necronomicon. Fuck, like, damn it, I probably still will. But
dang it, HP.
Yeah, it was screwy. I've had visions of like a Lovecraft just like crawling from the void, trying to get to my brain, so you could be like, hey, I'll write this down in your Pathovidia. Yeah, it's all in my game actually. A lot of this. So what do you guys know about it? The magical system, the black, there's many parallels of the Kraken.
Well, yeah,
the symbol of the Kraken.
Explain it how you think of it, because I don't, maybe a lot of people don't know.
Because it can relate to many things. I wrote on my blog about the Kraken, so I feel like that's how people. I basically related it to thought. Because I was taken into the Hindu philosophy of Zen, where it's like a collective demon. And so this thought, which is positive, of course, it's constructive and nice, it's also negative and allows us to get paranoid about CIA stuff or poison, and it makes us suck our energy down. I've had dreams of like Cthulhu just like sucking up the bliss of humanity and just like mind control. Like, that was the actual demon we were fighting. We weren't fighting the oligarchy or what, like the cabal. It was all Cthulhu, the unseen demon.
I do remember that Kraken comes, a cracker, like calling someone a cracker, comes from Kraken, and it's actually from Ben Franklin.
Now, that's
because
cool.
Ben Franklin thought, let's see if I can find Ben Franklin, in his memoir 1790, referred to a race of runagates and crackers, equally wild and savage as the Indians who inhabit the deserted woods and mountains. I think it could be the Slavs, the French, the Dutch, but it was a group of crackers. That was so.
Wow, Malcolm X used that term quite a bit, or in a speech or something.
Yeah, but because you'd be going down the river, and then they would grab at your boat and try to pull you out of your boat and take your stuff, I guess. That's
interesting. That's using thought. Yeah, that's good. So that's all. That's the end of the line. I'm still exploring that realm. It's people put, God, there's so many Lovecraft. I haven't read any Lovecraft just because I'm afraid of that kind of. I was afraid of that kind of time dilation. There was a book he did called Sand of Time. Anyway, I don't even want to change the subject. It was boring. I don't. There's something
no,
better.
I mean, it's kind of interesting though, the idea that magic. Lovecraft did some interesting stuff. He refused to go underground. He knew he could get hurt from demons or something if he got on a plane or went over the ocean or went underground. So he only did land travel. He believed in some interesting stuff and thought he had opened himself up to some scary things. I don't know.
The cool thing, I think he was a xenophobe or something. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know if he was racist or not, but he was certainly didn't like being around people. I'm not going to judge. Why would he even say that word racist? Why I don't. Yeah, but he basically opened up to people later in his life, and people were like, "What does Cthulhu look like?" And he's like, "No, it's unspeakable. He's dimensionless. You can't it's horrifying. You wouldn't want to know what Cthulhu looks like." And they're like, "Actually, I do. I kind of want to know what he looks like." And he's like, octopus face, and then there's the image of Cthulhu. He just came out of his nightmares he didn't want to talk about, and then he put it into form. And so that's how we got the friendly Cthulhu everywhere. And people have the memes, and they make them nice, and they make them cute and cuddly because that can also be like the arc demon. You know how in your dreams you're supposed to face your demons?
Yeah. Well, I think so, right? Aren't you? You can't die in your dreams, so you might as well. Or what's
exactly. Yeah,
why?
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that why?
Yeah, exactly. You want to transcend your fears. This is more of self-improvement now. If you have dreams, maybe you have a dream of a school shooter or whatever, demons. You're an infinite God being in your dreams. Why wouldn't once you become lucid, you face the demon and your dream will be better and you get more energy for the next. You wake up and you're like, yes. And then you got energy for the next day and you got, synchronicity will happen. At least from what I tested thus far.
That's a pretty good idea, actually. Yeah. So, I have a friend who's really into game theory who does this thing where he imagines the other reality that exists simultaneously to this one where there's a version of him that's succeeding at whatever he's interested in succeeding in and tries to get energy or connect to that or do things to be closer to that thing. Does that make sense? Or
totally 100%. That's how, if anyone's a creator out there or desires to be a creator, that's what you have to do is you have to imagine something in your life. You just have to connect it with your life. Obviously, this is, just sometimes it's not obvious for people, actually. It's like you're taking your avatar and you're like, I want to do better. And then you're creating a game now. You're programming the game. You're doing the art for the game or whatever, a book, painting, what you want to buy a co-op or something. I don't know what you want to do to help the real world out. But you put yourself, you imagine yourself in that picture and you develop a story from and you try to put a positive, you always want to put a positive spin on it unless you're the Avengers and you want to have a cliffhanger at the end of Infinity Wars or something. So then the positive spin happens later, unless you're Game of Thrones and you don't care about that shit or just want to be evil. It's really cool, the idea of video games in the context of our culture, because some people say video games aren't art. They're like, why do you play video games? That's not who that ancient people were masters at alchemy and architecture, and video games is a boring kid's toy is what most people think about it. When I think about it, I'm like, are you kidding me? Video games incorporates all of our art. It has art, painting, design in the models. It has the music. It has the stories. So it's like a book. So it has architecture. So it's all those things. But of course, since I am a game designer, I would talk up games.
No, but games are literally like the culmination of all of the things that have happened so far. Your interactivity, your existing in an ambient space, you know, and then also game theory, which is crazy. So do you ever do like physical, like,
are you
tabletop?
Are you talking about like Prisoner's Dilemma type game theory, or are you talking about game theory as in what makes a game fun?
I was about what made a game fun, but I think they're related. Maybe. I mean, talk about the difference.
Right. So since it's entirely subjective in terms of what makes it fun, game theory is more like vying for control. Like, is it a good idea to be compassionate or not? And it's really interesting because someone had the game theory of, there was a really good YouTube video, because you know how basically there was a competition in the past, probably the 80s or something, when this whole thing was going down, where basically the best strategy was tick for tat. Are you familiar with, like, if I take you, basically
tick for tack, eye for eye.
Yes.
Like the old line.
Yes. Eye for an eye. So exactly. You already see it. So we already knew, Gandhi knew the flaw of that, but in game theory, it worked perfectly well. Until
John Nash or whatever, the Nash game theory, like suffer. Everyone's going to be a criminal, so you can't trust anybody.
Yeah, which makes absolutely no sense at all in the real world, because why, if that's the way we have to work in the real world, is just to not, how would you get anything done? You wouldn't have food, you wouldn't have shelter. So there was a better theory to game theory that just came out like recently. It's like, sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but basically the whole idea is if you meta tick for tack, basically the person was like meta-ing tick for tack and was like, okay, so let's just try this infinite times. And if we do this infinite times, it doesn't work out, because you're going to lose every time if you do it infinite times. Sure, it works in a small scenario, but in wholeness, it's not going to work. You're going to lose your arm you're going to lose your arm the next day that I wish I could explain this better. So the idea in the game theory is that in the infinite game theory, let me see if I can explain this. You're walking along, I don't know, a wolf comes out and says, hey, I'm going to eat one of you. And sorry, but if you both... if maybe you can help me out here, but if one of you says no, then I'm going to eat the other person, kind of thing. Right. I think we get the grasp.
You're going to have to do something to pick which one of you is going to die. Yeah.
Yes. So obviously, if you both say no, the wolf eats both of you. So you don't want to be stupid in that regard. So the whole idea is just to compromise or something like that. That would be the most intelligent move, is to compromise, is to say, no, if we're looking at this all the way through, you would think the most intelligent move is to always be selfish and be like, no, the other person dies, I'm not. But no, that's not how it works in the really real, the meta real world. The metaphysical real world of compassion and spirituality and all this stuff that most people think is nonsense. I mean, it's hard to see. It's an invisible realm. It's hard to see. Of course, when you help someone out, it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Like when you give. So when the idea is that you work together, and then you're actually losing. Like you're being more intelligent. God damn it. Let me look up the YouTube video as you keep me talking as well.
Yeah, positive reciprocity. Like I'm imagining when you make a choice to work together, you're going to hide the gold, or it was okay. If two people are taken in and interrogated, and you say, hey, if you don't tell me anything, the other person's probably going to tell me something. So then you're going to go to jail, but they sell it to both people. So the likelihood is that one of them will break. So therefore you should break because the other one's going to break anyway. And so you
yeah.
should, but the
So,
real
yeah, we
answer
covered
is
it.
you, the
Yeah,
real
yeah,
answer is the
yes.
opposite. It's like you should train people to, and the other thing is for this to happen, people have to have no moral. So you had to already have trained socially engineered people to be moralist and selfish. So if you're already going to all the trouble to train people, then you might as well train them for the more ideal scenario, which is to just remain silent, or in that circumstance alone, because other circumstances to work together in other ways.
Yes.
But if you teach people to work together and how to collaborate, and that's what a big part of game theory, I think beyond playing actual games is the answer to training people.
Maybe so. This goes
That's
to
a
my
good
life.
point.
That goes to my life. So you know how Call of Duty, a lot of people criticize that for you're just talking about game theory, the idea of making it fun. Sure, yeah, make it fun. That's easy.
Yeah,
whatever.
But the Russian level is amazing. So
no, it kind of like is because it's all not real. Okay, so since it's a not real scenario, is someone really going to like take that and glorify that scene as like really cool and badass to be no, it's just a cool scene because you experience it in life and you're like, holy fuck, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe they showed that. You don't want any kids to get the wrong idea because they're impressionable and programmable, obviously. And so the whole idea maybe in the future is like you see these games coming out that are like non-violent or cozy, like indie games and stuff like that. And what makes a game fun could actually be like people are they're thinking about their art on a different level. It's not just military propaganda. It's also the idea of how to train people to be better people, how to make people like Undertale, basically. Heard of Undertale. The whole idea was like he kickstarted that game and it was like a game where you don't have to hurt anyone. You have it. And so I feel like that's why it was popular.
I haven't played that game. Let's see.
Undertale.
Sorry. Undertale. What's it? Is that?
Yes. Oh no, Undertale.
I almost
like
spelled it.
Yeah, you almost got it. It's like the story. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
So that was
so it looks kind of like Bone or something.
So those are like monsters or underground or whatever. It was made. The cool thing about the game was like made by one person and it became popular. I don't want to spoil the game, but because that's the whole idea of the game is you have the choice of killing all the monsters, or you have the choice of like just talking with them and seeing if you can do obviously nice. Which one's more fun though? Obviously it's killing. Like it's easier just to mindlessly just kill the monsters like in a shooting game or
it
something
depends.
like that.
I mean, if you get rewarded in ways.
I gotta bring up something.
You don't get rewarded very well. You only get rewarded in the end. Yeah, sorry. Go. Sorry.
No. Continue this conversation. One thing I want to bring up is like God games in general, but also especially this point of like killing people. I think this is actually the plot line of Hotline Miami. If you ever played this game, Hotline Miami. It's like super gory 2D shooter. You have to be really quick and so on. But if I remember correctly, in the epilogue, because you always get these calls and it's like, yes, you got to kill these guys and go there, kill them, take this new mask, kill them. You just do it because it's just a game. You're just playing a game. Right. But then at the very end, there is some kind of a conversation and it kind of takes it to the meta level. And it's like, well, like, why only because you got these calls, you wouldn't have had to go out and kill all those people. And it kind of like, oh my God, like, what did I do? Of course, there's another option in the game in this case, but it's like, whoa, like, so story action is actually, yeah,
that's what people want. They want the idea of like, oh fuck, I could have like even though this is a video game and it's not real, which is great freedom and who knows what kind of awesome VR thing will do. But the whole idea of I've had dreams where I'm shooting people because I believe it's a video game and it horrifies me. It horrifies me to no end. Like, why would I ever choose that? And the dream seems so real. And so we're just talking about Darren Brown and brainwashing and all this kind of stuff. And people have no compassion for psychopaths and stuff like that. It's a whole interesting realm to explore. about
I don't
our
know.
art.
I feel kind of like people love Netflix and like, Dahmer and stuff
Of
like
course,
that.
it's
America has a weird compassion
Oh,
and erotic obsession, I would almost
yeah, but
say.
don't do they love the character, or do they just love to hate the character?
Do they know what love is? That's a harder one.
So I feel like they're watching that because they're actually, I don't really know. You're right. I feel
Jordan
like
Peterson says that the women like the idea of a challenge, and so a man that is a villain in society that they can fix. I think that might be partially what the draw. And then there's also a lot of studies that show females sexual and violent relationship in the brain. So sex and violence are connected concepts.
Of course.
And so horror films are the most popular amongst women and the highest audience, although couples beyond that, because couples are women and their male partner going to a horror film. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of
makes
connections
sense.
there, I guess.
There totally is. I was just thinking, like, yeah, if you're with someone, you want like a horror movie because then you want them to hold you
Yeah.
But anyway,
Safety.
it's just my
The illusion
gender
of danger for
spectrum
the
perspective.
illusion of safety. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. But on the point of psychopaths, because it's very interesting how we dehumanize. Well, there's always someone we dehumanize. I would imagine. I hope I don't do that now. But basically, I was talking to a friend about all of this. What we're just talking about. He's a live streamer and just kind of listens to like Abraham Hicks, all that kind of stuff, and like he's super positive. He was so positive. He was like, I was telling him like, man, I wish there just was no more war. Like pulled out, but like this whole thing in Ukraine and what the hell? Like people shooting it, suffering. What do we really need this? Well, I said it better than that. I was like, people would drop their guns if we just had more positivity. And he said, yeah, but at the same war is beautiful as well. We're, like the bog, how like the Bhagavad Gita has war in it. And people get inspiration from the American flag. The
men are always
soldiers.
Like, tell my wife I love her. Tell my family I love them. Right? Yeah. When did they say that? When are they okay with saying that, except for during war?
Yeah. So that really shaped that kind of like altered my perspective to kind of lighten up about this whole idea of what you put in your art doesn't matter, but because people are going to do what people do, they'll eventually choose the right choice over time. But there was another point about another point about the psychopaths and how we always like to hate people.
But what are psychopaths? What are they exactly? Why do they?
Yeah. So that isn't that like being compassionate already. You're trying to like figure out what a psychopath is. Like you're analyzing it, but they hate that. The psychopath wouldn't want you to. They want to be above you. They, and so much so that they're thinking about killing you. Of course, so okay, I'm sure.
Let's just pretend this is a true example. A person who engages repeatedly in criminal and antisocial behavior without remorse or empathy for those victimized. Okay, so this gets really convoluted even right here. Because let's say you live in a country where cannabis is illegal and they want you to take Adderall and opiates.
Let's not say criminal. Let's not say criminal or antisocial, but let's say a person who engages repeatedly in thinking about killing people without remorse or empathy for those victims.
Well, the thought crime could fit in there as well, But just
wouldn't that be the definition of a psychopath?
I think this is just scary because if this is the definition, then a lot of people would fall under the definition.
Oh yeah.
All it takes is not going with the flow. Basically, if you're an anti-fascist, you're a psychopath by this definition. So,
Yeah, I totally agree. 100%.
It's not to say that psychopaths don't exist. It's just, it's a weird thing to demand of people that we diagnose them as psychopaths, because what are we saying? What are they hating all people? Are they making choices that are narcissistic? Are they the right choices and society's wrong? It gets really complicated.
Well, with how effed up psychiatry is, of course, the definition is provided by the power structure. So, of course, then we get into the issues. We could try to actually define it maybe in terms of harmful behavior and abusive behavior to others without remorse and so on, aside from any societal or state definitions. just that like there's no point in abusing or hurting someone else, I would say.
Right. So you're saying on an economic, like you're talking about you're talking about like an economic level of exploitation. Some people ascribe that to psychopaths. Like people up top that don't care anything about how much money they have or hoarding and how many people are at the bottom. That could also connect to
It's called that there is this, I think, Joel Bacon, The Corporation. I'm sure you know about this, Andreas. The Corporation is like a book and a movie. The Corporation, yeah. It's like with this. Exactly, yeah. That's where it is. This is kind of
pathological pursuit of power. Yes. So that's sort of like what people generally
right.
know
I remember
about.
This is the documentary that corporations are psychopaths or they're sociopaths.
And I think there is even a sequel being released now. From what I saw.
Have you heard of the scientific study where they basically rich people have less empathy, like scientifically evident that richer people have less empathy than poorer people. And
it's just like medical students once they graduate,
Yeah, you either sink or swim, either you sink or swim in the pile of leprosy that is life. But
so
the definition of health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Social well-being. So this is the gnarliest. I don't know. There's a book that you should read before you die. Moravagine. Let me see if I can find this book. Moravagine has a great title, but 1926 book by Blaise Sanders. It's about a guy who goes crazy in medical school in France in 1917 and gets really frustrated when he realizes health is just the absence of disease, and he doesn't like that definition. He wants a real definition of health without disease that really just stands on its own. So he releases some psychopaths and he follows them, a rich psychopath particularly with no empathy, and follows them around while they kill people, and he just studies them for medical records. It's a pretty fascinating book, though.
It sounds great, but that's the exact kind of thing I always avoid because I never want to think about it.
Just read it now before Netflix makes a show out of it because I mentioned it. It's coming soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, but why would I watch the Netflix?
Yeah, exactly.
Does it have an audio? So I'm sure they back to DS9. Like I was watching DS9 and Netflix just canceled DS9. I was on like the last season of DS9, and then Netflix was like, we don't have it on anymore. I'm like, God damn it, where do I go for my?
Where DS9? Is it? Watch series? Is it called Watch Series.cc or something like that? I think is the one. Definitely one of these.
This isn't criminal behavior, is it?
No, I mean, me telling you about math. I'll be careful. But DS9 is out there. The truth is out there.
Yeah, I'll have to. What? I already forgot it.
Wait, I guess DS9. What you were gonna,
Hell yeah! So DS. I mean,
the rules of acquisition. Yeah,
that's the perfect. The Ferengi. The whole idea of the Ferengi is just fascinating to me because my friend always talked about how some aliens might have money, and it always freaked me the hell out. Like, oh great, so we're gonna have to deal with aliens that have corporate power. This is stupid. Like, just shoot me now, or no, not really, but the whole idea of their religion.
Just vaccinate me now.
Right? Yeah, just vaccinate me now. Just let me in a deep dreamless sleep for eternity because aliens with money, great. Their whole
I do like Quark's clothes. He does wear like decent 90s.
He's a good talker. He's snazzy. Look, I mean,
he's also the principal in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So he makes his way around the series. It's a good, decent
great
one.
Yeah. He's a great
the rules of acquisition are huge. Let's look the rules of acquisition.
I didn't even look them up, but one of them is
I have them written down and printed somewhere. I like to leave them at people's houses. Once you have their money, you never give it back. Never pay more for an acquisition than you have to. Never allow family to stand in the way of opportunity. Keep your ears open. Small print leads to large risk. Opportunity plus instinct equals profit. Greed is eternal.
That's true.
There's like 285, so I'm not going to read them all, but
I like the one with war. Read the one because there's two of them about war and they contradict each other.
Here, let's go. Yeah, okay.
It's like 200 or something. War is profitable, and the other one is war is never profitable.
There's a better way. Let me go here to
it's probably
rules of acquisition is probably here on Wikipedia and on Fandom here. Okay. Yeah.
I
Okay.
just
and then-
spoil it. Sorry. War is good for
Yeah,
business.
War is good for business.
Peace is good for business.
Profit is its own reward. Risk doesn't always equal. No, that war.
I think it's
beware.
peace is good. It's right below the war is good.
Oh
for
yeah,
business.
war is good for business and peace is good for business.
Yeah,
They're not
people
really
get those-
oxymoronic.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We've always been
All a
at
matter
war
of having the
with
right
each other.
attitude, right?
Yeah, just the right perspective. Yeah, that's right.
It never
And
hurts to suck up
opportunity.
to your boss. Never make fun of a Ferengi's mother. Expand or die. Don't
This is
trust
just
a man wearing a
gold.
better suit than your own. Yeah,
This
I mean
is
it's
gold. It's
This is
gold.
what it's a religion. It's a philosophy. It's
When they die, they go into the what was it? The bank of oh my god, it's so amazing. Not the bank, something. The I don't know. Anyway, DS9, perfect, great show. And it has a ton of connections. I like they had the episode The Paradise Lost. I wrote an article about it if anyone wants to read it.
well,
Paradise
really
Lo-
quickly, just before we do Paradise
Yeah.
Lost, but I'll stay on
Sure.
it. I just found
No,
the Ferengi
yeah.
death ritual. What's the Ferengi death ritual? They have 6 days to live, being diagnosed with Derrick syndrome, vacuum dissection. They dissect them, and then everyone gets a piece.
Desiccate. They dry
sorry.
him. They dry him.
Oh, okay, sorry. They desiccate them, and then
Like the Egyptians.
they bury them. I remember the funeral service that they get pieces of them or something, right?
Oh yeah. They sell off all their property
That's what it
and their
is.
body parts as well. So it's like I got an earlobe of the Grand Nagus. It's cool. I could sell that years. It's an investment. Their body parts is pretty.
That's right. Okay, sorry. I feel better now. What was the next thing we were doing? We were just to jump to.
So Paradise. So the episode
Paradise
Paradise Lost is because hey, we just went through that whole COVID thing. That kind of sucked. Watch that episode. It kind of just laid it. It was like, yeah. Oh no. Oh, sorry. Of DS9, the episode of where basically like Earth is a perfect utopia with no money, right? And they call it a paradise. There's no money on Earth in Star Trek.
well, it's pretty suspicious, though, right? I mean,
You think the Starfleet is evil or like,
no,
what?
I mean, well, obviously they're a dictatorship. It's a military fascist
Yeah,
dictatorship that's
exactly.
run
Well,
by the NSA that boldly
but-
goes to know what no one's done before, and then they don't interfere. In other words, they just pick up gasoline, rape people, blow stuff up, and leave the planet in the middle of an election. And then you've also got Picard's families. Picard's family own land, make wine on Earth. Replicator folk, they're always trying to talk up the replicator while they're drinking actual wine. This is like a total oligarchical beehive run by despots. But I love
they're
Star Trek.
protective. They're
That's
they
why
keep us safe.
DS9's. Yeah, sorry.
That's what
They
they
keep them
always
safe.
tell you, the colonizers,
keep
that
them
they're your
safe.
protectors. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
keep-
it's a.
Of course.
They
Fa-
keep Earth safe. We need to fund Starfleet. They keep them safe.
But see, that's why DS9 is so awesome, because they don't have the same hypocrisy in that episode or that series. Because in DS9, they have to deal with Ferengi, they have to deal with other fascist dictatorships in themselves. And the Ferengi are like, oh, so you guys think you're super ethical? Yeah, we think we're super ethical too. Okay, we're not
Yeah.
really impressed with your human ethics, and I think that's brilliant. Like that's
It
really
is.
what it's the best there can be. Like, who's to say that our ethics are so great? Right? I mean, we're still
Exactly.
using and we're still killing people all the time and who are the bad guys? It's more of a Voyager thing, but the
Haven't seen Voyager yet.
God, what's the name of those guys? The
Are you
Voyager.
talking- Not the
Voyager is
Borg,
great. I just love Janeway.
Not the
Well, he's
the coolest.
Cardassians are pretty
Cardassian-
important. Cardassians are pretty important too, but Voyager.
I'm thinking of
Trek.
Orion when Raphael might know more. Like Orion is sort of like the Cardassians, kind of like a dystopian. Like we value fascism as empathy and compassion. Basically, fascism is right for people, and brainwashing is good. And the character Q,
Oh yeah. Here we go again.
Dude, right? Q's amazing. Q is
he's
the
just
best.
a great character. I just
The
like him as a
Maquis.
character.
Okay, but the Maquis. Have you heard of the Maquis?
Yeah.
Like the indigenous in the beginning, no?
Well,
Or
the
indigenous.
Maquis were the name. Let me click on the other disambiguation. Let's see. Italy, World War II, war. Come on, show me this. What? No, this is.
I was before you go on. I was going to say like some channeled material talk about Star Trek. Like, oh yeah, that's why we act in the prime directive. Like Star Trek is how extraterrestrials act in real life. We don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds reasonable.
The Maquis were the World War II allied loyalists in Axis territories, right? And so they use the same term for Trek Federation loyalists in non-Federation territories in Star Trek. So you've got the Spanish monkeys who fought against the Francoist dictatorship. And that is the metaphor for the Voyager and for Deep Space Nine, is that they're dealing with Cardassians, right? Kim Kardashians in space, and that
Kim Kardashian.
yeah.
But
you were trying to rabbit hole Paradise Lost. I wasn't trying to stop that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. So Paradise. Yeah. Thank you.
Anytime anyone brings up Star Trek, it's like it's a irrational nerdism to like,
it's a nuclear bomb.
Is it really about post-scarcity dystopia? I don't know. But go ahead.
Such a culture bomb this is, because it's still a culture. It's so significant for us right now, connecting with UFOs and everything like that, the technology, whatever. But Paradise Lost, so on planet Earth, they find out that the shapeshifters are there. There might be a shapeshifter on planet Earth. And so they go there and they're like, well, we know how to test for shapeshifters. We know how to test for shapeshifters. We got to do blood tests. We have to do the whatever test to see if their blood coagulates or whatever. And so they basically set up fascism on Earth, and people were like saying, why is this correct? Like, but most of them went along with it, and basically the whole scene, not to spoil it, if you don't want it spoiled, don't mute I don't know, stop listening. But the whole thing is like, Cisco is like, like Earth was a paradise, and we're going to lose it by being so paranoid. And one of the shapeshifters came to Cisco during the scene, and he was saying, like, how many shapeshifters are on planet Earth? What if I told you there was only 5 of us? There's only 5 of us. And look at the damage we wrought. And it's so relevant. It was so relevant between 2019, 2020, and now people just don't care anymore. So I guess that's good. But if another virus happens, do you think we would act the same way? Do you think we would go on to another lockdown?
Oh,
do you
totally.
think people would people would go for it? Like,
yeah, totally. Now we've got like a way of doing things. You know what I mean? This is like in schools, people that hide under desks, like into the 80s and 90s, kids were still doing drills. You know what I mean?
Oh my! So it's like the trauma. What is it called? Stockholm surgeon, kind of like trauma from. I don't know it, because there was so much science in both ways. Like, there was.
You ever watched that movie, The Time Machine from 1960? Right?
Oh, nope, sorry.
Super, super key. You gotta go on Odyssey, watch this movie. Go find this somewhere and watch it. Hugely important movie. And throughout the movie, all kinds of things that have already happened based on a book written in like 1890 something that predicted World War I, II, and then the Cuban Missile Crisis, again, World War III.
With what we just spoke about, how much of this is predicted, how much of this is simply planned. And it's
yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want to see planned, you see Orson Welles' other book, H.G. Wells' other book, Things to Come, which is all like, it's written about 6 months before World War II. It's like, let's just say we have a World War II. And then, like, let's just say that we take over the world and we have the Freemasonry of science and there's a reset. But hold on. There was a point we were doing this. Time Machine. What did you just say right before it?
Connected to the lockdowns or something. I don't know.
Lockdowns. Thank you. Okay. You did it. So they have this siren that plays at the Sphinx temple, and it goes like basically like a World War II drill or like an atomic blast, like get in the air raid shelter drill, and everyone goes full like mind control, and they're like, oh shoot, I gotta single file calmly and peaceably enter the temple, and they don't know why. It's just genetically at this point, because it's been going on for centuries, that everyone all their lives, when they hear this sound, they go underground, and there's like only so many entrances to underground, like to the temples. They all just naturally do it. So, I mean, I think that's what we're going to see is more muscle memory programming of people that it was actually confusing for some people because they weren't used to it. But the school children got it the easiest. They're like, yeah, wear a mask, go underground, single file line,
Well, yeah, but it's probably rashes of the. I don't know. There's all these studies where like wearing the mask is ruining the speech of the
suffocating people, and they can't see each other's faces, but they're calm as Hindu cows.
And I was just going to that time machine with the siren, because there's so much evidence about the like lockdowns being so like depression, suicide, and all that. So it sucks that we had to do that. Oh, and I hope we don't really have to do it again, or kind of like free will, like, hey, if you want to lock down, you lock. But
I hope we stop it. But you know, I'm a cynical.
Whatever. We got tornado drills here in Kansas.
And just to point out briefly,
we always go. Oh, sorry.
Just briefly, it was always free will. You know,
right? That's the thing. Had to. I was even going to have a question with. I don't know if we have to.
In most countries, there was not enough military presence to do anything, and there were enough exclusion rules that you could use. And if there is only a tiny fraction more, which I honestly do see of now, like a galvanized populace that just won't take orders in that way anymore, I don't think it's gonna fly. But I'm eternally
I would say like
in any case, so
it's going to be more like people if they want, just like it is now. Like I don't know, in California, I think they have like mandates or whatever, but around here, it's like, hey, you want to wear one? Yeah, okay. If you don't want to. So it would probably be the same. I don't think the paranoia could get to that peak, but I could be wrong. It could be a deadlier disease, and the paranoia could be exactly the same but the Sphinx with the tornado, like we have tornado drills here, and like most people ignore them, obviously, but it's still a programming of like, you look at the news, you go in your basement, just like those people. Maybe that's how they got the idea. I don't know. You go in the basement and you just sit there afraid. But what is the probability of tornado? I don't know.
Or even let's talk about it. Wasn't there a long time when they actually trained school children what to do? I think even in Austria, when there's a nuclear disaster,
duck and
you're
cover.
Supposed to hide under your table. And I mean, how great is that gonna be?
And cover.
They'll give you.
Well, if there's lead paint and everything, I mean, hopefully, right?
I don't know how much it would help, but maybe the desk could maybe like a slight more. I don't.
No, but it's nice to have ideas. Like, so then you have this thing, it makes you calm. And so then the thing is that is actually works.
But isn't there one more thing just briefly like with the airplanes? Isn't that there where they tell you like you're supposed to put your head like down? And then I heard, I don't know if it's true, but that if you do that and you actually collide with something, it immediately breaks your neck or something like this. I'm not sure.
Oh God.
Sure, yeah. I'm just
that's good. Maybe that was the plan.
Maybe we can
just a quick,
about this, but yeah.
No, I don't know, but I do think that most of the nuclear stuff, they knew, obviously, if there was really anything to happen, there's nothing that could be done about a blast. But so many people talking about it all the time, if you don't provide people with a placebo effect, then they really will have anxiety all the time. So if you give somebody a thing and you get a bunch of people to do it in front of them, then it's convincing that maybe, clearly, why would they lie? There's so many people that are putting their heads under their desk.
Yeah.
It might help you sleep at night. And that's what they needed in 1964.
I wonder, because then you think you have to go through that ritual and then it doesn't help you. Like it has the opposite effect, because you're like, oh, it keeps it in your mind. But I guess it's going to be in your mind anyway. The fact that
it's like more trauma programming, nothing else. I mean, come on.
I don't know.
It's not really happening, but we'll pretend it's going to happen. So duck and cover, and everyone's going insane. They might attack any day. Even today, there's talk about whatever nuclear imagined weapons they want to fire at each other, and everyone's going crazy. Because in the end, for this control system to work, you don't need to actually do anything to anybody. You just need to have everybody scared,
So a lot of people are. The reason I'm not afraid of nuclear weapons is just because of that footage of UFOs disarming nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
that was enough to be like, all right. They're not gonna let that. Would they? I mean, maybe they're like, well, we have extraterrestrials here on Earth, so it's sort of like our, we're not gonna fuck up. Or like, it's sort of our responsibility too now, kind of thing.
There's been a couple of these circumstances also where Soviets stopped nuclear war from happening. I think it's 1964 Valent.
Like they had they were on the button like.
Yeah, I mean, and there was some circumstances in submarines where people were on amphetamines trying to stay awake for 60 hours at a time, and they had lack of communication, and they were in the Caribbean area, and they could have started the war, but they didn't want to. So, I mean, the amount of times that's been stopped from happening, I mean,
It's
So-
magical almost.
Yeah, exactly. It does
You
seem
wonder,
magical.
You wonder about that. Like if there's like some, I don't know if spirit guides exist, or you wonder if like there's unseen influences that, because for me, I see light, whatever. I see lights, blue lights, white lights all around me. I'm like, what is that? What, higher self, a extraterrestrial, a guide or something? And if I see a light, sometimes I'll go, and then I'll see something right there where I'm like, oh my God, I didn't notice that thing there, right there, that object. It's like something directed me and it gained me something that I really need. So, yeah.
We got a super chat again. California, Canadian money, $10 from Don DeSuit. I couldn't read it. It just looks like an awesome emoji. So I just wanted to make sure everyone got to see how sweet that emoji was.
And Trinity 4 said, nukes are real? Question mark.
Yeah, it's a good. There's people that question that. I don't know if you've seen any of
that's
those
the other
videos.
thing. I can
Oil
always
companies have made a bunch of propaganda against nukes. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead, Raph.
Yeah, because they want.
I mean-
Wait, what do you think about nuclear? Oh, sorry, no, Rafa.
I mean, nuclear energy is another interesting topic, of course, but this would be the other question. Oh, they always turn it off, in the last second, maybe just because it doesn't actually work the way they say, at least, And
Right.
what's very clear, I mean, you have
All
the
that
UN,
testing.
you have the UN agency against nuclear proliferation. It's like a huge thing, and it's always the best excuse. You want to invade anybody, you just claim they have nuclear bombs and aren't supposed to because they're not India or the US or whatever. They're not sane, and you have the perfect excuse. And then, so yeah. But
So
yeah,
much,
there's-
so
I
much
mean,
suffering in
I
Japan.
don't know, Andreas, just briefly, how much do you know about like the, let's say, intricacies of how the nuclear stuff should actually go off? Because from what I had heard or understood, it would be very delicate to actually function, and it's kind of a wobbly science, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, well, so first off, like the amount of nuclear systems that are built with poor prototypical systems are ridiculous. The amount of American and German nukes that are built from like 1958 style technology, when they started building it, they already had better designs. They already had things that would, for instance, use ferrofluid, and it holds this thing in place. And when the thing loses energy, it turns off, and then it melts the actual peripheral that's holding all these plastic gears and metal gears we have, that just would melt away, and then it would just turn off. But so you'd have to keep it on running all the time, or else it would just melt down. It would never be able to keep flowing. And so we could immediately have had a mechanical system that would have been completely safe. The other thing is these pressures. Yeah, well, yeah, because
what if like a nation came over and took over the, I don't know, bomb, like a drone bomb? Whoops.
Yeah, but if a drone bomb blows it up, then the ferrofluid that's holding the thing running melts, and so then it just turns off instantly. So it should be it should be in most ways a lot safer. The other thing is you could use thorium, which is a kind of a glassy.
That's fat. Okay, is there any nuclear waste?
And so the other thing is with nuclear waste, since you have you have these nano reactors now that are about the size of a table. The material that you have is a certain amount of heavy salt, heavy lithium. Well, you can put that heavy lithium in really like single granular quantities into a AA battery that would run for 10,000 or 2,000 or 1,000 years or something.
Does it give off any radiation? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. But the radiation is such a small amount that's being.
It would be like a cell phone or something like.
It'd be less than a cell phone, yeah, and
that's pretty cool.
It's beta voltaic.
You got me.
So you'd be able to capture the radiation in the battery itself with these graphene membrane. So the actual material you're using to absorb the radiation, that actually is absorbed. It literally is absorbing the radiation. So then that's being used to create a supercapacitor that would have the battery charge, and so instantaneously always charging all the time. Tesla has beta voltaics that work this way that are pretty much out right now.
That's awesome.
So that technology is there, and we've had that technology since the 50s, but we've made nukes look dangerous because oil companies are like dangerous, right? And then the idea that nukes don't exist at all, that's even more. They're like, dude, it's all fake. They're just using oil to finance it, But volcanoes are basically, there's also natural reactors, which are volcanoes. If you look at the Oklo nuclear reactor, it's burned off like some major percentage of uranium, plutonium, blah, 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 blah. But they exist. Yeah.
No, that's actually really interesting.
Would you assume there's also some kind of ancient nuclear technology? Because I think, Andreas, you brought up your revised.
Are you talking about the
documentary.
Vedas?
Yeah, I mean, who knows what exactly?
Here's a 2 billion year old natural nuclear reactor. So, I mean, that's basically what the Vedas talk about, right?
All
It
right.
just makes me
nuclear
think,
explosion.
are we in the Kali Yuga or what? Like, are we going to have a golden age, or
Well,
is
let's make this the actual closing question because we're actually 2 hours deep. I didn't even think about this. But yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think that we're in the Dvapara Yuga yet? Like because of all the electricity and people being on the internet? Is it like eclipsing? Because Kali Yuga is the material Yuga, right? And so it's this idea that we're in the material age and there's skulls dropping and she's trying to catch them so that the world doesn't end. But while that's happening, Dvapara Yuga is now, I want that bumper sticker. Dvapara Yuga is now trademarked, Andreas. You can't take it, but okay. But the idea that there's an energy Yuga that's emerging, it's a non-material Yuga. And so is it like day and night? And even that, day and night isn't click and click. There's like a gradient. So maybe we're already starting the energy Yuga.
Are you? Is that the silver? Oh no, Treta Yuga. Which one? Which one is the? What starts with a D? Is that iron, bronze, silver, or gold?
The Dvapara is this one here.
So we might be
Kali,
Bronze Age,
and then Treta, and then Satya. Okay.
I don't know. I guess. What do you think? Because I always thought, wow, we're heading towards the golden age. That's always true. Anyway, of course, we're always heading towards the golden age, or you're in it. But it seems reasonable we would be in the silver age, but I don't really know.
Well, it says Satya is the first and best, right? So it's the first and last. So we go through it and out of it, but we might be, that's a question. Like, how far are we from this? It's like half of the thing, right? So
yeah,
it's like this turnover cycle, or are we going counterclockwise is the other thing. Because I was thinking we go Kali into Dvapara. That's the thing. It looks like Dvapara is the next one.
Yeah, that's how I thought it worked.
Yeah, so we're screwed. I mean, if we're becoming a anti-material reality, then of course that's what everything is. As the material fades, the metaverse will start to arise.
Yeah, everyone has different perspectives on it, which I find interesting because they always point to like,
dude, this is the best picture I've ever seen.
What the hell am I looking at?
This reminds me of Bezmenov, who also said, as a communist agent, who was like, "Oh, we were so happy, all the people going to India meditate. They are no threat to us anymore. Along those lines, because they're just gonna bliss out and not become insurgents or anything or resist the communist propaganda."
I thought it was interesting that the Indian prime minister was like shaking hands with all these leaders that have been like taken out. I don't know. It was an interesting meme. The alliances we're forming, BRICS and all that.
ZHW, this cycle can also be represented by the sun in its cycle orbit with Sirius. At least I read that somewhere. I need to find it. Well, that's pretty good. Do you have any more? This has been pretty good at 2 hours deep. I mean, I know we could go deeper. We could talk about more stuff, but I think we keep doing some surface stuff. So we'll have to repeat it. Is there anything you wanted to like share with people?
Yeah.
Now 2 hours in, was there anything you wanted to say, Jaron, actually?
Marvelous, right?
Yeah, I thought you were talking directly to my whole sentence.
You're right. No. You intuit. Just go with the flow of your being and what you feel is true. Always.
Look, I'd appreciate if you listen to my podcast. That would be great. Or I'll follow you back or whatever.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. I'm definitely down. I haven't heard your podcast yet. I didn't know about it.
Totally.
Raph will just grab people that I haven't talked to yet, and then I'll be super stoked that I meet them because I'm like, oh, this person's brilliant. They've got all of the right energy.
Did you say exactly the same thing last time or 2 times ago or something? I had a complete deja vu right now, but that's fine. We're in a time loop anyhow, so it's all good.
I am just thrilled that it was on this show because I was looking at you're like a shining beacon of light within the planetary internet sphere of the world, right? Everything is pointing to this kind of content. I feel like in the future, it will grow, more people will just suddenly get down in rabbit holes and stuff like that. Perhaps
It's the goal. It's the hope.
That's the hope.
Where's the podcast? if I go to Spotify or Anchor? What do you think?
Yeah, you can go Spotify, Anchor, and then I'm trying to get it on the other one, like Radio Public or whatever. Google and stuff like that.
Legit. Do you have a YouTube page yet for this, or is it synced for that?
Yeah, I got a YouTube page, but I still have to upload like.
Oh wait,
content
but don't you actually have the animations? Am I dreaming?
And then I got and then you go website, you don't look at my animations or whatever.
Oh, show one of the animations, please.
Well, there's the animations there.
Where do I animations? Boom.
Yeah.
It's like short ones. You can, yeah, right. Great.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can hear this.
That one's not even a funny one. That one's just like 3 minutes of art.
But
do the UFO, do the congressional.
This is pretty
UFO.
Sweet though. This is the kind of thing I'm all about. That looks pretty sweet.
Cool.
Okay,
it did have
the UFO?
Cthulhu in there though.
Oh, whoa, the pyramid eye. Okay, come on.
No,
Every
that
kid
one
in America like.
Oh, and also
that one's
here,
lame. No, that
I'm
one's
not-
lame. That's like educational stupidity. Do
my favorite
U.S. congressional hearings on UFOs.
and just because you bring up the third eye thing or pyramid eye, did we bring this up Exodus already? That the old Moorish flag looks exactly like the third eye, but with the steps together. Did we mention this last time? I don't even remember right now.
I'm not sure. Let's pull it up though. You know, this
Mel
is.
Gibson does it. One second.
You've seen the cherry tree flag, right? This is supposed to be the cherry tree.
Oh, is this extra content? This is encore now. This is sweet.
Haven't you ever seen that? They do
Bonus
that. They walk off stage and they just keep going. I don't know what it is. It's like
Wow.
it's coverage. But
I'm gonna pull it up just for a second. You guys keep talking.
while he's doing that though, you also got music, Blog of Mystics. Look at your blog too.
That's my blog. Look at that. 3 surefire ways to increase money, love, and talent. Don't you just want to read that? Like,
I do. I feel like that's a very practical.
Like,
thing
is it
for me
why?
to read.
Why is it so catchy to read? I
mean, it's bullet points. Bullet points are brilliant. I'm a big fan of it. The idea of bullet points.
Bullet points, image that looks really magnanimous. That I really need to credit that artist. But I'm just so busy. So much time in the world. Like, who's that artist? Like, I didn't even credit that. Whoever is doing that, like, they are giving it away for free. It's amazing. Free content.
Dude,
What
it looks
the
like
hell?
AI. Is this AI? Oh my God.
I can't believe like more people aren't donating to your show, by the way, because isn't this all for free?
Andreas, but you know,
I can't believe it's not butter. It's all right. The people that do, I love you for it. And those that you can't,
Yes, we'll
I
love you.
understand.
Well-
we live in a world where milk is $7 a gallon. So
Yeah, that's true. But you could cut out milk. Dairy isn't
that's
very
true.
healthy.
You could cut out
So-
milk and give me that $7.
Yeah,
But that's all right. If you don't,
It's-
it's all, you know.
Well, yeah, but it's for your health. It's for your health.
so
Yeah, right.
yeah, do it for your health. Donate to Exertus. So Andreas, I sent the link. There is the flag. I found it. It's like lower res images as with this stuff as always, but it's there.
Let me see
And
here.
yeah,
Quant, Michelle Gibson, boom. Oh, okay.
It's always the question, you know, who stole what, and this is like, what?
This is interesting because it's kind of like the British flag, you know.
No,
the
but what I
red
like about
cross.
it, it has the obvious like third eye thing, but it's connected, you know.
What is QWant? Is QWant different than DuckDuckGo?
Yeah, I think so. It's like German, I think, but
Oh, weird. Interesting.
scroll down a bit more. There should be another image of this.
Hold on there. Close this thing up. Which
But
one
that's
is
her
it?
website. That's a website that should be. That was good actually. The first one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's a website. Yeah, there
Okay,
should be fine there.
Going to the piercing the veil of illusion. All text so far. Oh, there we go. Here's this guy here, and then a bunch of Shriners. Moors and masonry, more science. Travis says, "I don't have a job." Yeet, and he just super chatted that he doesn't have a job, just to show that you
Perfect.
can still do it. Thank you.
That's
Yeet.
what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah. Oh
Dude,
yeah.
Travis-
Abundance
Travis-
mindset.
Super base.
He doesn't. He's in the flow of the universe. He doesn't need a job. Like,
right.
throw compassion around.
Yeah. The pyramids of America. This is pretty good. Yeah, the idea that America's covered in the more sciences. Oof, there that sand thing. There we go.
Oh,
I believe it. The Planet of the Apes
Iconic.
idea that
Mhm.
it's all buried. The Miles Canyon basalts of the Yukon River near Whitehorse in Yukon Territory.
Hell yeah.
Interesting.
That looks
Yeah.
like a great location. That once you know,
Yeah, I gotta check it out, man. We should do a
Yeah.
thing. We'll also do a deep dive into Kansas at some point. I have to do like a Google view over Kansas a bunch, and then we should like look at that.
Yeah, take a good survey because there's all kinds of lodges here. Whatever. It's great. But wow, man, amazing being on this show. Holy crap. More people need to share it. I'm surprised not more people aren't sharing this to their friends and family. I don't know why like they want to do that, but because it's easy to share it. Like it would be so easy to just
it's so easy,
share this channel.
Of course, but then Jaron, maybe you haven't seen Andreas Xirtus' Vice special yet, which totally everyone got to watch on the very suspicious Odyssey channel called Illuminati Archive, which only has one upload, which is his awesome show where he's getting psychologized by this very nice guy. Watch this show and then you'll understand why not everyone can share this with everyone. Lest they may be in the position like Xirtus is, but of course, we very much appreciate you for being in the vanguard as we all are, including everybody listening and watching. So thank you guys.
But you might also like my family thinks I'm crazy. I think Mark does some pretty good videos. Jaron, I'll get you connected with this guy as well.
Give me all the links.
Yeah,
I will follow these people. And yes, definitely.
Dude. Totally. Yeah, we'll definitely do it again soon. And thank you for coming. And guys, see you, I think actually later tonight because Wednesday Ultra is tonight. So take care and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. talk, carry on. We can 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 talk, carry on.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
We can talk, carry on. We can talk, carry on.